Doamnelor și domnilor, vă invităm să luați loc, începem în câteva minute.
Late lights settling in the room. No one calling the outward turn. Somewhere a coat still on the phone. Something that the day deferred. Stay in the cold. Don't let the evening take you. Stay in the cold. Just a few more minutes here. Stay in the cold. Perfume deep in the curtain fold. Marble cold beneath the floor. 8:30 and the glass holds gold. Something making you stay once more. Stay in the cold. Don't let the evening take you. Stay in the cold. Just a few more minutes here. Stay in the cold. The door was locked an hour ago, but something in this room won't go. Not the scent, not the shape on the chair, just the way the evening settled there. Stay in the cold. Don't let the evening take you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take a seat.
Few more minutes.
We will begin shortly.
your jacket on the chair again. I moved it twice, but I put it back. There's something in the way you occupy a room, even when you're not in it. I keep the window cracked away.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Moldova Digital Summit 2026. This was Ensemble Joc. Let's give them a round of applause. Mulțumim. Quite an unusual start to the event, huh? We start the Digital Summit with a traditional dance. And before we move on, I want to invite on the stage our three hosts for today. And I will give them the microphone. Please welcome Ana Chirița, Marina Bzovei, and Nicoleta Colomeț.
Welcome, welcome everyone. Welcome to Moldova Digital Summit and welcome to Moldova, where we're building the friendliest digital state, not only in the region but also in the world, one of the most interoperable states with close to 4 million data exchanges happening daily between public and private entities.
Welcome to Moldova Digital Summit and the simplest tax regime in the region, and we are happy to have together almost 3,000 resident companies in MITV.
And welcome to the 15th edition of Moldova Digital Summit. It's an anniversary edition, that's why you had the wonderful Joc on the stage where traditions meet technology. And welcome to the event and to the country where there is high potential, highest potential probably in the region for the ICT sector, and where community meets potential. Welcome, have a great day today. Thank you.
Also, we will be breaking a tradition today. I will not be presenting from the usual desk you've seen me for the past 3 years, and I already see some eyebrows raised, but I will get off stage now because I want to welcome on stage Prime Minister of Republic of Moldova, Alexandru Munteanu.
Let me prepare my speech in a digital way. Bună dimineața. Good morning. Добрий ранок. Bon matin. I guess I will stop here with all the languages because I don't know how we had a wonderful dance and I should be up to the standards of that energizing beginning. And obviously I prepared the speech, but let me start with something very simple. A little survey, just 3 questions I want to ask you. Well, the first one, very simple. How many of you don't have that gadget? Just raise your hand. Well, I don't see many hands. Reason, so I assume everybody has this gadget. How many of you didn't look into the internet this morning? Checking the news or, you know, the tennis matches at Roland Garros or some other breaking news. Well, it looks like everybody was on the internet today. How many of you didn't use an AI tool? You didn't? Oh, you see. So it's coming. But still, the vast majority, I assume, been using ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever platform you're accustomed with. I think we are living through incredible times, and someone who still represents the generation of baby boomers. I'm the last year born in '64. I've been, and you can look at me like the old fossil, because I lived half of my life without internet and those gadgets. And I remember, well, I went to the school here in Chisinau, and we didn't obviously have computers. And then when I came to Moscow University, which was at the time the center of everything, and we had big computers, huge computers, probably taking half of this big room, and we were still programming on perfo cards. I don't know how many of you understand what I'm talking about, but there was the bunch of the paper punched with the holes, and if you miss one of those papers, the whole program is stuck. And then I learned some languages some of you may have heard, like BASIC and Fortran, and then assembler, and then coming back to Moldova, I worked on the Academy of Sciences, and we had a computer slightly smaller, but still a big disk of about this size, 1 meter in size, for 1.2 megabytes. Well, obviously now, and I still remember the speeches, the gurus of informatics in those times saying that the informatics will develop, but they will never be able to beat a human being on chess, or compose music, or make modern drawings. Well, it happened quicker than 20 years later. It's all accelerating. I'm fortunate to have 2 of my sons in US, in New York, in IT sector, and when they start talking, I'm lost in the first 5 minutes. And they're telling me that they have to reinvent themselves, they have to accelerate, they have to learn. So coming to Moldova, technology has not simply changed our life, it changed everything. And the Republic of Moldova here, we made the choice, because digital transformation is not about computers, it's about creating this inclusive environment, giving the power of citizens to access services faster, the power of businesses to grow faster. For us, digitalization is not just a technological choice, it's a choice of competitiveness, transparency, resilience, and a choice for Europe. We choose to compete, not through size, but through talent. Actually, here, just 10 days ago in this room, I was speaking to the graduates, to the Moldovan graduates, and kind of trying to convey them the message that, well, the life is not always about butterflies and milk and honey. It's about competitiveness. It's about developing talents, and every young professional has a unique talent. You need to find a way to enhance it, embrace it, and develop it. And that's what we here at the government of Moldova are trying to achieve. And we already have done quite a lot of things, especially for us, the older generation, traveling to the so-called old Europe. We see that we achieved quite a lot. That's not the point of complacency. We need to do even more. And that's why we are creating this environment here with all those IT parks, and we are trying to bring the best talent. And we want to become the leading GovTech, and we've seen already all those nice presentations at the desk early this morning. Our ambition is not simply join the European Union, but to help build Europe's digital future. I think digital industry is very global now. It's very hard to convince a young professional and young IT or software engineer to stay in one specific place when his biggest asset is laptop computer, which he can take and move to Bangalore or... And then the question is, why not Moldova? Or why is Moldova? Well, Moldova now rocks. Moldova now is hot. Moldova is bringing the best talent. And that's the answer, and that's the next European Union country. And hopefully Marta will develop on this subject in her subsequent speech. And we plan to invest in human talent and human capacity. As a former lecturer at the Technical University here in Moldova, I'm very dedicated to that process. Yesterday, we had in my opinion, interesting panel, which I had a pleasure and honor to moderate with Andrea Orchel. Andrea Orchel is the CEO of UniCredit. And he joined us via Zoom, which was also sort of inconceivable just 10 years ago, obviously developed very quickly during COVID times. And I asked him, we kind of shared the same experiences. Our kids left Europe and working in Silicon Valley. And the question is, can we build a Silicon Valley here in Europe? And when I'm saying Europe, obviously I mean Moldova. Why don't we make it somewhere in this part of the world? We have a talent. We have to develop our infrastructure. We have to raise our universities at the European level, make them more dynamic, and obviously we need to bring investment into those areas. We're already investing a lot, and we should do more. So let's build a future, and let's build it together. Thank you so much. On this note, and without further ado, I would introduce Marta Kos, you a commissioner and a very good friend of Moldova and a very inspiring person. Thank you.
Why do you go to Moldova so often? What is so special on Moldovans? Why are you meeting not just the politicians but the ordinary people? Why did you go to the monastery of Marta and Maria? Do they really have enough and good cherries and plums and strawberries to be exported to Europe? Is their food so good? How did you make placenta? Dear Prime Minister, dear Alex, dear Deputy Prime Minister, dear Eugene, ladies and gentlemen, entrepreneurs, innovators, founders, these are the questions I many times get when I tell the citizens in Europe, especially in Slovenia and Brussels, why do I go to Moldova? If I see what I see today here at the Digital Summit, I tell them, and now I will tell them even more, that Moldova is the place to be. If I look around, and when I was walking among your companies and seeing Yevo and seeing the award company who got award for the special game, you know, this is already Europe. But of course, we have to do more, and we are working on the, in my opinion, the best project you can imagine. For me, the European Union is the best project ever done in the world. And now another project is getting Moldova to the best project ever in the world, and this is in the EU. And it can start, or it can be enhanced through the digital part. In my conversations with Moldovans, the conversation is often about the great progress you are making on your EU path and about catching up with the rest of Europe. But not here. Moldova already is a digital success story. In digital services, you have an edge. And this is the sector where Moldovan talent already competes successfully across Europe. A sector that creates wealth here in Moldova, a sector where young people can build careers while remaining rooted at home in Moldova. And this is the foundation of the economic convergence with the EU we are working for. There are already great startup success stories, like Planable, which thousands of companies around the world use to manage their social media, or Self-Talk, a very promising startup which uses, where are you, which uses technology and psychology to make mental health support more accessible. And I think we will have to be all in a good mental health, being confronted with the geopolitical challenges in today's world. Or take the Moldovan startup Argus AI, a true European success story. They deploy AI to improve surgical precision and have been selected by the European Innovation Council as one of only 70 deep tech companies for special assistance. Congratulations. And this success is increasingly visible. Moldova's IT park, as we have heard, now hosts around 3,000 companies employing almost 26,000 specialists and generating more than 1 billion in annual turnover. Those examples show that if Moldovan talent finds equal opportunities, it can compete with the best in Europe. And this lesson goes beyond the digital sector. The challenge for Moldova is not the talent. It is competing on a level playing field. And that having the same opportunities, that is really what your integration into the European Union is all about. And this is the Moldova we are building together, one of equal treatment, equal opportunities, and also equal rights. Full EU membership will give you that, but already now we are working on opening up as many sectors as possible for you. Some are well known. Last year, for example, Moldova joined the single euro payments area. This means that a Moldovan startup selling, let's say, services to German, Romanian, French client can receive euro payments within minutes at near zero cost. This is equal treatment. The same is true about your integration into the EU's roaming-free area. This is great for all those traveling between Moldova and the EU, and we don't have this with all the countries in Europe. It saves money and brings somehow peace of mind. But some other areas are less well known. For example, last year, Moldova received an AI antenna connected to the EU AI Factories network. This means that a startup developing an AI application or is a researcher training a new AI model can more easily access European resources. It gives Moldovan talent a better chance to compete and collaborate at the European level. Another example is the first European Digital Innovation Hub in Moldova. It will help Moldovan companies across testing facilities, expertise, training and financing opportunities. In other words, it will help transform good ideas into real economic growth. And I have gotten a special card. I really like your note. He says, Digital Vision European ambition, but it is also Moldovan ambition. Here says Moldova, age 35 years, size small, status catching up, profile European candidate state navigating democratic decline, we will turn this around, economic transition, we will push it up, and the challenge of retaining its talent. But then on the back side it is Moldova 2030, age 39 years. IT sector 12.4 of the GDP. Education 3,000 upskilled AI engineers, status builder, reputation, Europe's most credible testing ground. It has to be something special in your nation to have this successful vision. I really admire you, but I also envy you. I would like to see this motivation, this energy potential all around Europe. And we see this potential. Europe sees your many investors. This is why we have included Moldova's digital sector in a call for expression of interest to mobilize private investments into Moldovan businesses. This is also why the EU supports the Moldovan Innovation Fund. It will soon help startups gain access to capital and mentoring, so you can grow your businesses here at home while competing with the rest of Europe. Dear friends, your digital sector is an example of Moldova's potential. It is symbolic of exactly the kind of transformation we want to see across the Moldovan economy through our growth plan, a sustainable path to prosperity for all. We want all Moldovans to have the infrastructure, the capital and the opportunities to compete with the rest of Europe. Because if Moldova can produce companies that compete with the best in Europe in the digital sector, then there is no reason why the same cannot happen across the entire economy. And we need you. We have just adopted at the European level, in the European Commission last Wednesday, the European Tech Sovereignty Act. It is unacceptable that in these geopolitical, very strange times, 70% of our data are on the clouds of 3 big US companies. The next 50% are on the clouds of the smaller US companies, and only 50% are on the European clouds. If we see what is happening around us, we are exposed to many risks. And also with you, dear Moldovans, we can change this. So I come to the conclusion that the challenge for Moldova is not the talent. It is having the same access and the same opportunities. And this is ultimately the promise of our union. And this is the promise that we are already turning into reality together. Since yesterday, we know that we will very soon open cluster 1 in the negotiations. Then there are another 5 clusters, but this is just opening. It is quite technical. But being here at the Digital Summit, I will do the comparison that going one step after another to the full membership is like in the computer game where you have to go through different levels, and at the end, the reward is EU membership. It's not always easy. The ones who play the games know this. But at every level, you have to know that you understand what this is about. You have to develop the skills. You don't have everything. You have to develop the skills on the way, but the higher you get, the better the reward. So, dear Moldovan digital community, we need you desperately to help the Moldova as a country to come through all those levels to the top when we will celebrate again. But then we will really celebrate huge when Moldova will become a full member of the European Union. I don't know if I will be commissioner at that time, but I promise you, wherever you will celebrate the entry into the EU, I will come. And then I will have a glass of the best, of course, Moldovan wine. All the best.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Madam Commissioner. I took 2 things from your speech. First one are these cards. This is actually a teaser for one of the speakers later. And if you don't have one on your seat, you can come to my table and pick one. And if you don't believe we can make it happen like it says on the second part, then you make it happen. And the second part I took from Commissioner Costa's speech is we have to go in and save Europe. So, you don't hear that every day. And to talk about how we're going to come in and save Europe while doing this tremendously hard exercise of transposing legislation and negotiating the clusters and surviving all of this and coming out on top, please welcome on stage Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Economic Development and Digitalization, Eugenio Smochescu.
Commissioner De Marta, good morning. The Prime Minister, Alexander, good morning, Excellencies, members of the Parliament. Dear friends, well, the last 48 hours, less than 48 hours, are marked by events, by announcements, by requests of the Cyprus presidency, and this is the most important for us. This is a signal which is being sent to the country, to the citizens and to the private sector. Now, speaking about the digital, the Prime Minister was saying about us maybe not necessarily being able to dance. But I want to make a remark. They're saying that they're taking, well, their need of 2 to dance a tango. No, it's a team effort. So this is exactly what the Moldovans have shown. A team effort, tremendously working, painstakingly, tirelessly, in achieving the results and the goal that we have. And the goal is European Union integration, so it's the most important. Now, speaking about the digital things, I'm glad that in the room I see a couple of lads that we have started back in my previous life with one of the logos on these running logos of the institutions, the e-governance reform in this country. Well, 2026, we do not speak anymore about the e-governance reform, except the e-governance agency. But that E at that time was standing for electronic. At that time I was saying it's not about electronic, it's about efficiency. So it's about efficiency of services being provided by the state to its citizens, efficiency of services provided by the state to the private sector. I will follow with Prime Minister's permission and ask you a question. How many of you, please raise your hands, know the difference between digitization and digitalization? Unfortunately, not many of you. So we're not speaking about digitization anymore. It's about information which is being digitized. We're speaking about digitalization. We're speaking about processes being digitalized. So we're here, Digital Summit. We're speaking about digitalization. So that's the thing. When we have started the country, the reform here, and by the way, we'll speak during the next panel, or the first panel of this event today, about some of the inputs, lessons learned, the challenges we've discussed about more than 10 years ago, about simple things. Today we speak about digitalization and we speak about artificial intelligence. This is the next generation. Are we there yet as a country? Certainly not. I was looking at the figures this morning. We're 60th among the nations using AI, and about almost 20% of our population is using AI. Are we using it at the state level? Certainly not. Private sector. And here I would echo what Commissioner said, Prime Minister said. Dear private sector actors, please help us. We need your expertise. The way we have needed it more than 10 years ago. The way we have needed it from EU member states. We had great teachers. Now, and I will make a correction in the cards, we are not catching up. We caught up. And honestly speaking, there are countries looking at us as teachers in terms of digitalization. And by the way, the startup ecosystem, be ready. Literally last week I had discussions about a couple of countries from Central Asia this time coming for sharing experience, our experience with them. So they look at us, at the startup ecosystem. So please be ready. And maybe we can meet here or in other places that we can share our experience. So, more than 10 years ago we have started this journey. Marvelous things have happened. 78% of services are being digitalized, those provided to the citizens, about 56 almost, those provided to citizens, again, are being digitalized. Here on the back of mine, we see the less papers, more digitalized services. So this is exactly what we need to do. There is a lot to be done in the next future. And when I'm saying about the next future, it's about 26 and 27, immediate future. Here we need your strength, we need your expertise, we need your analytical underpinnings, we need your thoughts and ideas. That's why the sandbox, let the kids play here. Let them play. They have a couple of years. Let them make experiments. And here I would quote what Reagan said once asked during the presidential campaign, since we're saying about our generations and your generation, we will not exploit the youth inexperience. So we will not do it. We will be together and we will make all the possible efforts, tirelessly as I was saying, in order to provide all the tools that you can use and experiment. There are things which needs to be done. And certainly, as I was saying, this is the EU integration. Chapter 10. Those who do not know, Chapter 10, it's about digitalization. It's about one of the chapters that we have to negotiate, and I'm proud to say that we are ready as a country to provisionally close it in 2026. It has been done tremendous work, and thanks to the team sitting, including here, to the ministry, to the private sector, and certainly to the European Commission, which hears us, listens, and notes. Tremendous work. I will not repeat what Madam Commissioner said in terms of what has been done so far. More to be done, definitely. Yes, we have to do more. The sandbox. But that's number one. Number two, less papers and more digital services. Whatever we have in our system, clouds, doesn't matter, doesn't have to be requested from the private sector and from the citizens. The state has to understand, the state, public authorities, and it does not matter, being it a ministry, being it a line agency, shall benefit from all the information which is already, is it me? No. it is already in the cloud, in there. So please do that. And that's something painful for some of the ministries and agencies, definitely. But you have to do it. You have to understand it. And as I was saying previously, we, from our perspectives, will be going as a bulldozer, pushing for this kind of reforms. And we will not stop there until we reach 2028. Next, we have tools in our hands to assist the private sector. But we need also your assistance, and especially in AI. Literally before the meetings here, yesterday during the conference on investments, we had these discussions. We do need your help. We are not necessarily the brightest minds. You are the brightest minds, because you are the force which drives the growth, of this country. And we shall do it together. Since this is something which tomorrow will be out pension with AI if we are not addressing it today. Tomorrow will be something different compared to what we have today. So please do come, hammer on our heads. Please do. As a Chinese drop, as a death penalty, the ancient death penalty, do it, since we need to listen. Brainstorm and brainwash us, from good perspectives, of course. But let's do it together. The results, as I was saying, are marvelous. We have calculated a couple of the savings that have been registered by the private sector from the digital perspectives, but also from cutting the red tape in the country. 264 million lei only from one package of modifications back in December 2025. It's not a lot, but we have calculated what we'll have in 2026. 5 billion lei if we implement everything from A to Z. And these are packages of regulations and deregulations, packages of digitalization that will be on the shoulders of the Parliament by the end of this year, calendar year 2026. And we'll have to do it, and we will do it. So there is a promise from our side. And please do tax us if we do not keep our promises. So far, we have kept. And we've seen the figures, 93% of all the reforms from the reform agenda have been implemented, cascading into trust, cascading into opening the first cluster, but also cascading into investments. Now we need to bring more investments into the digital area. So that's the third point that I want to leave you with. More investments, a trusted partner, especially in cybersecurity. There we have proved to be resilient, to be agile, together with the European Union, together with member states of the European Union, and with the private sector. In 2025, a figure which you haven't made it up, probably have had it, but we had it from our partners. This country, public authorities, citizens, private sector, households were attacked almost 1 billion times. 1 billion times during the hybrid war of Russia against us. So think about that. We've done by learning and we've learned by doing. So let's continue keeping the same pace and let's secure Europe, the eastern flank of Europe.
Dar voi în sală puteți să aplaudați dacă tot cântă muzica asta. While they take a picture, I want to remind you that we also have a parallel agenda at the business and international stages. And also we have live translation powered by AI. So if you need translation, you can, at the entrance, you can go in and scan your QR code and get a translation device. Thank you, everyone. I hope everyone is okay. All right. Deputy Prime Minister, I take it your speech is over? Yes, okay. So while the Deputy Prime Minister waits for us to set up the stage, I want to remind you quickly who helped this event happen. Obviously, this is under the patronage of the Government of Moldova and the Ministry of Economic Development and Digitalization. The organizers are ATIC, Moldova Innovation Technology Park, Agenția de Guvernare Electronică, and TechWell. Strategic partners are European Union, powered by Marta Kos, German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, BMZ, and German Agency for International Cooperation, GIZ. World Bank, UNDP, Italy, Ukraine-Moldova American Enterprise Fund, Innovate Moldova, Swiss Cooperation Office in Moldova, Helvetas Moldova, UN Women, UNICEF, Nordic Council of Ministers, Public Services Agency, and Organization for Entrepreneurship Development. The sponsors are Diamond, MasterCard, Gold, Orange Moldova, Silver, IBM, RSD, Proactive Hunt, Palo Alto, Mecanis, Salesforce, International Media Support, Amazon Web Services, Brunelli Canto, Porsche, Dorna, Chateau Cojushna, Bolt, and Oracle. And community partners are Business Voice, Startup Moldova, Floral Soul, and AmCham Moldova. The media partners are also worth mentioning: Agora, Diez.md, Forbes Moldova, Foxco, Radio Noroc, Rupor, Știri.md, Point.md, Newsmaker, Realitatea, Bani.md, Simples, The List, and Vocea Basarabiei. And I see we are almost ready. Before I ask for the Deputy Prime Minister to come back on stage, I just want to remind you that we also have an expo zone behind us. So whenever you feel like you need to take a walk and see what we've prepared here today, you can always go around, not like the previous years, through my back and into the cameras. No, no. You have to leave this area and go around and then go to the expo area. Okay? So if we are ready, I want to fix my iPad. I want to invite back here on stage Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Economic Development and Digitalization, Osmochescu, who will have a panel about Digital Moldova, European Future, accelerating EU integration through innovation. And he has a large list of guests, and I'll let him invite them on stage. Yeah? If you don't mind, Deputy Prime Minister, you have a microphone? I'll give you mine. Oh, okay, fine. I don't hear the applauses. There you go. Do you want me to invite them? The guests? Okay. Guido Beltrani. Her Excellency Petra Lark. Daniela Gasparikova. Dr. Verena Tsel. Maha Damaj. Isabel Neto. Domenico Stoyanovska and Adrian Gutsu. Louder, louder. There you go.
So the stage is... Do you hear us? Yeah. So the stage is ours. So shall we dance? Then, yeah, let's dance. Thanks, and thanks to all participants today that you'll be hearing us. Well, it's a panel, is the first one. The stage has been set. But the most important, and as I was saying at the beginning, we need to hear feedback. We need to hear suggestions. We need to hear how we shall move ahead. Well, certainly not everything is in the rose colors. What has been done, and I'll repeat myself with your permission, is marvelous. The results are fantastic, but there is need for more. And with your permission, may I start with you, Madam Ambassador. Sweden has been a partner for such a long time that even I remember from my previous life, before joining even my previous employer, which is among us here as well. I've been working with Sweden, and then with Sweden in my previous employment, and now again with Sweden. Again, in full transparency, it was a journey really, really, really fruitful. But now looking at the Moldovan future in terms of EU integration, in terms of the Chapter 10 that I was mentioning, in terms of 5G toolbox, looking into the future of ours in the European Union, is there anything from your experience, from your expertise, given again that one of the leaders in the European Union in terms of 5G implementation and technological implementation, that you would love to share with us? Maybe some critiques, what we can do better, what needs to be done better? How shall we move? Faster? Slower? Who knows? The floor is yours. Thanks.
Thank you. You can answer. Good. Well, thanks. Those are really good questions, and I'd love to be able to answer some of them. First of all, maybe let me start with the fact that Moldova's European future will be built on digital infrastructure. And infrastructure is only as strong as the trust we can place in it. Because a network, of course, is not just cables and antennas. It's the backbone of public administration, of banking, of energy, of healthcare, and of defense. So who builds it and who could one day control it? It's not only a technical question, but ultimately one of sovereignty. The EU has been quite clear for years that not all suppliers carry the same risk. The 5G security toolbox that you were referring to introduced the concept of high-risk vendors and urged member states to restrict them in critical networks and their functions, and to pursue multi-vendor strategies to avoid a dangerous dependency on any single supplier. And this is no longer just guidance. In January 2026, the European Commission proposed a revised Cybersecurity Act and a Digital Network Act that would make these restrictions binding, requiring providers to phase out components from high-risk suppliers in mobile networks within a maximum of 36 years after such a supplier is listed. So, implementation of these one-day final regulations will be critical for membership and an important factor for access to the single market and EU cooperation in all digital-related fields. And of course, being a candidate country, alignment of this part of the acquis will be part of the accession journey, including the 5G toolbox, of course, which was, we were very happy to see how the government included in the reform agenda and the EU growth plan. I think these were really important steps. So a key message to Moldova in the rollout of 5G across your country is that it's far cheaper and far safer to build trusted from the start than to rip and replace later. Moldova has the advantage of being able to design resilience rather than to retrofit it. And maybe just you asked for Swedish experience, and we do have some. In 2020, we, after assessment by our armed forces and our security services, our regulator excluded high-risk suppliers from our national 5G network, and we were one of the first European countries to do so and act decisively on only trusted vendors. And we're also home to Ericsson, one of Europe's leading trusted telecom equipment suppliers. So we understand this ecosystem both from the policy and the industry side of things. We have funded a feasibility study on how Moldova could implement the 5G toolbox, and we look forward to continuing the dialogue together with the government on how we and other partners can be of assistance in taking this work forward. And we are, of course, ready to continue sharing our experience from our own journey towards secure networks, and as one of Moldova's largest bilateral donors, supporting the digital resilience of Moldova will continue to be central for my country and for our reform cooperation. Because, of course, every trusted choice that Moldova makes will be to the concrete benefit of the European Union. Thank you.
Thanks, Excellency. Sweden was with us all the time, and not only in this digital area that we're speaking today here, it's in other areas as well, for which the country is really thankful. And now I would like to ask an old friend, by the way, of mine, that we met for the first time when we are both based in Kyiv, and then apparently we're both based in Moldova. Yeah, Guido. From your perspective, certainly Switzerland is not a member of the European Union, but is there with the soul and the heart. Well, certainly you'll need a referendum to join the EU. But from your perspectives, and again from long-lasting experience in assisting this very country of ours. Innovation. This is something that I've personally seen in Switzerland in my previous life, this time here. What is your perspective? Maybe as an observer, because you see things happening there and here. So maybe there are a couple of suggestions that we need to change direction or to go the same way. What is your perspectives?
Thank you. Thank you very much for the question. And let me start by saying that I'm really glad to be here. I participate in this kind of panel for the third year in a row. And it is impressive to see how Moldova's digital conversation has developed in a few years. Now, on your questions, I would dare to say we are not an observer, we are an actor. In Moldova, we are supporting Moldova since the year 2000. At the moment, we are focusing on three main areas which are improving governance and social cohesion, strengthening economic development, and focusing also on health and local public services. And for the period 2025-2028, we have allocated 104 million Swiss francs, around 150 million euro in these three areas. Now, you didn't hear the word digitalization in it, but digitalization is actually an approach that we use in all the areas in which we work to speed up development. You mentioned innovation. Innovation is a very powerful tool to speed up development and also to make development more inclusive. If you allow me the comparison, I would say that digitalization is like a Swiss knife, which has several tools or several blades in it. And let me mention maybe four on which our program is focusing. The first one is to increase efficiency and reduce costs. This is very important for companies and in particular for small and medium enterprises. The second one is to increase quality of goods, quality of services. And the two together, these two blades, if I may say so, are key for the socio-economic development and also for reducing then, let's say, the distance from the EU country. So they contribute very much to the EU integration process of Moldova. The third blade, I would say, it's about increasing transparency and accountability. Digitalization is a key tool in this regard. And the fourth, but not less important blade or tool is to increase outreach and participation. And I would like to provide one example for each of these tools, how through the Swiss program we try to implement it. Let me start with efficiency, improving efficiency, reducing cost. So through one of our program, Optim, here in the country, we have promoted the integration of MIA, instant payment system, in 5 large e-commerce platforms. This is not a technical advance. It is key, in particular, for small online suppliers to reduce their transaction cost. Then moving to quality, a totally different sector, we support introducing telemedicine across the country. And through it, doctors, even in the most remote parts of the country, can connect with specialists in Chisinau and treat emergency cases such as a stroke, for instance, according to the most modern state-of-the-art standards. And this obviously increases quality and saves lives. Then speaking about transparency, accountability, a key tool that we are supporting is BizRadar. This is the first e-tool for public-private dialogue. And through this tool, companies in Moldova can give feedback to the authorities on the regulatory framework, provide suggestions how to improve it. And then maybe last but not least, the fourth blade, participation outreach. We have support ODA, a state institution, to create its digital platform, which provides an overview to companies on public, over 60 kinds of public support schemes. So this increases enormously the outreach of the ODA services. Maybe to conclude, one word looking to the future, because we have spoken about what we do now. The entire day of tomorrow is dedicated to digitalization in education. And I think this is also key to promote digital skills of the youth. You don't need that much here in Moldova. I think all generations are already very much digital. But I will be glad to be here tomorrow. We organize together with the summit a big competition for young people to provide IT solutions to social or environmental challenges. And this is also, let's say, a brick on the wall that we are building towards fostering further the digital skills of the inhabitants of this country. Thank you.
Thanks, Guido. Blades, sharp blades. So we have to be careful. Well, with AI, probably we have to be careful, you know, because there's so many, the information around that we have to be careful. So you're speaking about responsibility, you're speaking about transparency. Daniela, may I ask you about the UNDP's vision in terms of sustainability? How we can do better in terms of being sustainable. Since UNDP is involved in different programs in the country, with certainly public sector, but the public and the private one, where do you see that we need to do more and how?
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, dear colleagues, dear partners, dear participants in this wonderful event. It's also for me the third year in a row that I'm here together with Guido and with a few more colleagues. Let me start by making reference to something that you said in your speech, because I believe it gives me a good segue into the talking points that I had prepared. You mentioned that we started collaborating in Moldova on the digitalization of the public sector and institutions 10 years ago by introducing one of the institutional blocks, e-governance agency. And you mentioned E is not relevant anymore. My opening point is that the governance in the title has never gone away, and it is even more relevant today than we realized those 10 years ago. So I believe from our collaboration here in Moldova, but also around the world, the success of internalizing all the wonderful technology and digitalization in the institutions and public service is not going to hinge on the newest technology that we managed to introduce, but it's going to hinge on whether we are going to get the governance behind that technology right. And let me demonstrate that on the 3 lessons learned from Moldova that we draw from our collaboration with the institutions. The first one is, if we introduce the digital solutions with the intent of going beyond efficiency and tweaking on the margins of the improving business process, and if we have the collaborative, people-centered approach to improving the performance of the institutions that change the lives and access to services of the citizens, then that's where we are starting to talk. And that's sometimes easier to say than to do. Oftentimes we have seen digital solutions being the purview of the IT department and a few enthusiasts in the institutions. Where we see them to stick is when they become the part and parcel of the policy objectives, performance objectives, against which the institutional performance is being measured, meaning benchmarks, why the institution is there, why and for whom do we come to work every single day, and how the digital is allowing us as the public servant to better deliver on our mandate. Then that brings me, if we get this element right, then the digital becomes the vein, you know, the wiring of the institutions that runs across and becomes a critical asset that the institutions are utilizing in delivering for the citizens. However, the second lesson learned is that our management systems, being the public finance management, budgeting, procurement, the way we manage assets, are geared and are designed for managing asset as a car. Meaning that we define the specification, we procure it, and we then from time to time manage it and maintain it, right? So we put it in the budget, and then, you know, every year basically we go for the checkup. If we take digital solutions and digitalization as an asset, these old models of the budgeting, procurement, and managing assets do not apply. Because if the digital is wired into the institution, it is wired into the way the institution evolves, the legislation changes, and our approach to procuring, maintaining, and managing needs to evolve as well. It needs to be much more agile. It needs to be managed around the product. And digital as an asset is never finalized. Every time something changes in our context, in our environment, the digital asset, if it is inbuilt into the institution, needs to evolve and change as well. And the third lesson learned, and this is where I believe that's where other countries are coming to Moldova to learn, is about the data exchange and how the data is being governed. Moldova is an excellent example that has put in place very sophisticated infrastructure and capabilities for the data information flow and exchange. So this is where other countries can learn from Moldova. And again, if I use the game parable, we need to now go and step to the second level and second phase, and that's where the learning is happening, is how do we own and manage the data for the A to Z service delivery, if this service delivery underpinned by the digital solution as a product is not owned by one institution, right? So how do we manage that good experience for the user if the ownership of different modes and points doesn't rest with one agency, doesn't rest with one institutions? So the way our institutions are governed is vertical. Digital service delivery usually spans across the institutions, and it's horizontal. If we manage in the next phase to get this horizontal governance right and to break the silos among the institutions, I believe that in Moldova, but also in many other countries around the world, we will unleash the potential of the true innovation that drives the improvements in the lives of the people. So we are very much in UNDP looking forward to continue this learning journey and share it along the way with all of you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. By the way, if there are any questions which are burning, please do raise your hands. I hope there are mics in the room so that we can have them now. If there are any burning questions, if not, we can keep them for the end. All right? Maha, Guido was saying about education. He just alluded to education. May I ask you, from your perspectives, UNICEF, what shall we do? Well, we know what we shall do, but how better do it? And how do you see the things progressing in terms of education and the role that UNICEF is playing?
Thank you. Thank you very much for the question. It's also a pleasure being here again. And indeed, when Guido mentioned it, I smiled. Thank you for the segue. It was excellent. I think at UNICEF, I mean, we see education sits at the heart of this journey of European integration. The skills children develop today, as we mentioned, will shape not only their own futures, but also Moldova's ability to thrive in an increasingly digital and knowledge-based economy. So where we've started is we are working together with the Ministry of Education and Research in implementing the roadmap for the digitalization of the education sector, strengthening teachers' digital competencies through initiatives such as DigiProf and DigiComp Edu, modernizing data systems such as MS, the Education Management Information System, developing tools like EduTrack, expanding connectivity, promoting inclusive technologies that help every child participate and learn. But if we look closely, these initiatives are not fundamentally about technology. They're about a much bigger question. For much of the last 2 centuries, the greatest achievement of education was scale. Societies learned how to educate millions of children, and education transformed from a privilege enjoyed by a few into a right guaranteed to all. And since the adoption of the Convention on the Rights of the Child in 1989, education has been recognized as a fundamental right for every child. This was one of the most successful social and economic investments in modern history. It helped build the workforce that powered industrialization and economic growth, and in many ways, education and the economy were designed around the same logic: standardization. But increasingly, the economy is operating according to a different logic. Across sectors, the most successful institutions are no longer those that serve averages most efficiently. They are those that understand individuals most effectively. Healthcare is moving towards personalized medicine. Public services are becoming more citizen-centered and data-driven. Businesses compete by understanding the needs of increasingly diverse customers and adapting their products and services accordingly. In many ways, the defining institutional challenge of the 21st century is learning how to serve individuals at scale. And nowhere is this challenge more important than in education. Because children are not averages. They learn differently. And the education systems we inherited were largely designed for a world where responding to these differences at scale was extraordinarily difficult. This is where digital transformation, digitalization, but the digital transformation becomes truly transformative. For the first time in history, technology creates the possibility of combining 2 objectives that often appear to be in tension: scale and responsiveness. For 2 centuries, education systems became increasingly good at reaching everyone. Today, they have the opportunity to become better at understanding everyone. This ambition is deeply aligned with the European project. The European Union is often associated with regulations, standards, and institutions, but at its core, it is also a project of institutional modernization. A project built on the idea that public institutions should become more responsive and more capable of serving citizens. The European education area, the Digital Education Action Plan, Europe's broader digital transition all reflect this principle. That is why Moldova's progress in digital transformation matters. The modernization of EMIS and the development of tools such as EduTrack are not merely technical upgrades. They represent a different way of thinking about education. So while we are talking a lot about the skills, actually we see the wonderful opportunity of transforming the sector through digitalization. These allow institutions to move from administering systems to understanding learners. In many ways, this reflects the broader ambition of the European Child Guarantee. The challenge is no longer about coverage, it's about responsiveness. A system built around averages will inevitably leave some children behind. A system capable of understanding differences has a much greater chance of finding them before they are left behind. That's why UNICEF supports not only connectivity and infrastructure, but also teacher development, digital competencies, assistive technologies, data systems, and evidence-based decision-making. Perhaps the defining challenge of the 20th century in education was how to educate millions of children. The defining challenge of the 21st century education may be how to educate millions of children without treating them as if they were all the same. And for the first time in history, we have the tools to pursue both. Thanks.
Great. While you were speaking, I was thinking about the young generation here, not that we're old, we just look a little bit differently. And I remember the case in my previous life, a team member of ours, speaking about the knowledge, had to cancel an appointment, a medical appointment, and in his country. though we were based on a different one. And he's been told, no, you shall send a letter, or you have to come personally to do that. And we get both to the office, same time, and he approaches kids, almost students, out of the school benches and says, where can I find a fax machine to send a fax? These girls at the reception, they were looking at us like the idiots. What, a fax machine? What is it, a fax machine? So, speaking about education, and then by the way, I'm glad that together with the Minister of Education of ours, and by the way, including in the collaboration with the associations of yours related to digitalization, the program changes, which is a good step forward. So thanks a lot. Now, turning to one of the most, in good sense of the word, rigid impact assessment frameworks, monitoring and evaluation, speaking out of the experience, looking into the theory of change. So you have to show what's the impacts. Isabel, from the World Bank perspectives, but critically, where are our gaps? Again, in full transparency, we have had a discussion. We rather know what we need to do, but I would rather go deeper, and please do tell us, where are the gaps of ours? Because we've discussed, and we've seen what are the next steps. And these steps, some of them are critical, that we need to implement certain actions now as we speak. In my speech, previous one, I was saying about friends being in the room that have initiated the e-governance reform, which transformed into digitalization these days. But we do understand time has passed. Hardware, software, licensing. So we need certain actions to be implemented rather soon. So Isabel, from your perspectives, what are the gaps? And what it's an immediate need for us?
Very good. So first of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's really a pleasure. And maybe before going to the gaps, I do want to recognize that I think that Moldova has one of the most compelling stories in the region in terms of digital journey. And you've actually been able to build a digital state that works, right? And I think that's not a given. I think it's not obvious. It's a result of a decade of policy choice and just staying at it. And so I do want to recognize that because I think it's very clear and it's what the evidence is showing, right? And maybe if I zoom out of Moldova just for a little bit, so at the World Bank, we've actually been working on digital transformation in the region for quite a long time and with several countries. But we recognize that this is a very special moment where digital is becoming even more important. So at the World Bank internally, we've created a whole vice presidency for digital and AI to recognize this. I think the Swiss colleague was talking about the blades in the Swiss knife, and indeed, digital has many blades, and at the end of the day, it's about giving people better lives and more and better jobs. But we recognize that for that we need to step up. We need to step up, our clients need to step up, and the solutions that we had 10 years ago or even a year ago are no longer relevant. You need to be kind of moving and doing it in a different way. So in Moldova specifically, we've been privileged to be a partner, an anchor partner of the government for the last 10 years with 2 operations, with a sustained technical dialogue. And I think that, again, we're happy to see that the results are showing in Moldova. I think you've built a lot of important systems, services online that people are using. The usage has grown more than 50%. You have public access points in over 100 points in the country. And also I think something that you've mentioned before in your opening remarks, it's also the size of the IT sector in Moldova that today is contributing to 6% of the GDP. So all that is great. Now, coming to the gaps, your question, right? Yes, things are not perfect, as they never are, right? And there are gaps, and so I think it's important for us to look at what those are, to be able to see where we need to do additional work. You know, first of all, technology evolves. Some of those platforms that you've developed so well are coming to the end of life and they need to be renewed. So there you need to kind of take care that you do that in a way that doesn't cause disruption to the services being offered. There's, of course, resilience, cyber resilience, physical resilience of the networks. We know that, especially since 2022, kind of a product of also regional instability, this is a question that is even more important. So cyber and network resilience are really very, very important. All the challenges around the EU integration that are clearly opportunities, and they're right now it's obviously not even an option, it's a requirement, and it's something where you've kind of going very determined at, but ensuring that there's alignment with the various EU requirements. And then I would say that, of course, there's AI, right? AI is the next frontier. It totally changes the way in which, from a technological point of view, we do product development. From more of a user-centric point of view, how we need to integrate AI so that whatever we deliver is centered around people, is centered around life events, and really responds to what people need. But also beyond that, I think the next frontier, it's also the agentic state, right? Things keep moving. And I think it's important for Moldova to continue to maintain its edge. I think you have a vision. I think the government is putting together the priorities of where it wants to go, and beyond priorities, kind of moving towards action. We would love to be part of that journey with you. And so I think it is about, you know, some of these areas that I mentioned, possibly also looking at selecting particular sectors that you may want to focus on, like, for example, how we've talked before about the blades, so using blades for local public administration reform, agriculture, health, which I think are very important sectors. And then maybe just in closing, I wanted just to mention two additional areas. One of them is, and again, I think you've made it very clear in your opening remarks, I've been talking a lot about public sector delivery, but at the end of the day, I think it's the ecosystem, right? And how the public and the private work together, and how you have this reinforcing loop so that you deliver what you need to do with the private sector, and also with opportunities for the private sector. And the second aspect is about regional integration and learning from each other. Clearly, this is relevant for the EU topics that we've talked about, but beyond that, there are several countries in the region that we're also working with that are already embarking on this journey of kind of staying at the edge, of integrating AI, of going kind of the next step. And the way we see it, looking at these regional exchanges is super important, not only because solutions that cut across borders are more powerful, but about the learning. And as far as we are concerned, again, working with various countries, we think it's super important to have kind of this cohort of champions that can learn from each other. And we would be super happy, again, to support Moldova in being part of also this cohort of countries that we work with. Thank you.
Thanks, Isabel. You probably have noticed that here on this stage, we have only 3 men and most women. Marvelous. But are we there yet in terms of women empowerment, involvement, inclusion? Dominika, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, and greetings to everybody. It's really a pleasure to be here. Very good question. So, I mean, we heard from all the speakers so far how much relevant for our society, how this whole digital transformation reshapes our societies. And contrary to what we were thinking, actually the digital transformation yet has not overcome the gender inequalities. Actually, it has reproduced it oftentimes and even amplified in certain cases. And I really like to say and to substantiate my talk, maybe I can give a couple of figures. Like globally, only 35% of STEM graduates are women, and women occupy less than 1/4 of tech sector positions, with just 17% of tech companies having a woman CEO. At the same time, it was mentioned on AI, we all use it, and what we see statistically is that women make up just 22% of professionals in the AI sector, and they are below 14% at senior level. What that brings, there are a number of studies who actually show that AI reproduces gender stereotypes and biases. And we see a lot reproduction of men in the leadership roles, and women reproduced in a way presented in domestic sphere, and all the algorithms are bringing that perspective. Now, what I want to mention here, and I'm very glad that it's going to be discussed later at this digital forum, how women and men use this online sphere and what risks they're facing is also different. And what we have from global data is actually that 85% of women have experienced online or digital violence, which is a very alarming data, and it's something that concerns us all. Now, coming to Moldova, I think Moldova is a very special case. On one side, and we saw today, who is in the lead of driving the digital transformation, who are the hosts. They were all women, and it beats somehow the global statistics, but at the same time, when we see the statistics in Moldova as well, they are mirroring the global ones. We have around 31% of women are having jobs in the ICT sector, and only 90% of digital professions, and at the same time, there is a 33% of gender wage gap in the ICT sector in this country, which is large. So now, what to do about that? There are several approaches which are ongoing and which are very relevant. One is to enroll more girls in the STEM sector. Already in 2015, UN Women, in partnership with Sweden, launched this initiative, Girls Go IT, which in the meantime got a life in its own. So it continues under that umbrella to have a number of initiatives involving more girls to the STEM sector. And tomorrow there will be some showcases of that in this summit. The second area is enrollment is not enough. The retention is a problem. So on one side, what we are seeing, STEM graduates, women STEM graduates do not tend to stay. After 1 year, they are leaving. Plus, with the development of AI, the jobs which are most at risk are those which are covered by women. So what we do, we have several initiatives around this, like the Women in Online program. We do support the iHubs, having alternative childcare facilities within the iHubs in this country. We run several initiatives like the cyber security trainings, digital education, which are all relevant, including on addressing the wage gap. Today we have a specific panel where the gender wage gap in tech sector is discussed overall, and where very soon a new platform, digital platform called Plata Egala MDL will be launched by the Ministry of Labor that we work jointly with ILO and Swiss Development Cooperation, where there will be a tool to calculate whether the gender wage gap is and what is the trend. So it needs to be constantly monitored and engaged. And lastly, I think one and last point, which is highly important, is the policy and the whole AI governance, where Moldova now is in an excellent position to drive the whole process of addressing these gender gaps through specific gender data included in the AI governance overall, and we have a number of spaces to do. The roadmap you're developing, and I think all of that aligns with the EU AI Act, so it very much aligns with the EU fundamentals chapters, but also on a very concrete process which are going in the country now. So I hope I answered your question, but in a nutshell, this is where the situation is when it comes to equalities in the digital sphere and those gender biases that we are still facing. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. May I ask Verena now the German perspectives? We've heard from Sweden, we have heard from multilaterals, internationals, so now Germany, another partner of ours since from the beginning of the Moldovan independence, from the moment we have started our sovereign steps, including in digitalization, including innovation. How do you see it? What we are doing the right way or the wrong way? But please be blunt and tell us exactly what needs to be done. Again, since here we speak about partners at the political level, technical level, but from the perspectives of another member state of the European Union, since this is exactly the path that we want to take.
Yeah, hello everybody. Thank you, Minister. Great to be here for this important topic. So to refer directly to your question, I just want to quote yesterday's speeches where everybody said Moldova is a small country, but one advantage is that it's moving very fast. And I think this is the case for the digital sector as well, or for digitalizing the country. I always admire how fast you are. This is something we could never do, if it's because we're a big country or because we are too slow in digitalization our processes, but this is something you really impress us all, I think. And digitalization is really a cross-cutting issue, I think, for all sectors and as well for the German Development Corporation here with Moldova. So we try to support you in this endeavor wherever we can. I would pick out maybe 3 topics, these sectors, where we see it as crucial now for the EU integration and for moving forward for the economic development of the country to really move fast. The first one is the territorial reform, which is, I think, the main reform now in the country here, moving at an incredible speed, and which is about public services. And I would say this is a very good example where you've done already a lot of fantastic work in the country, but where we need to keep the speed up as well in digitalizing services so that all citizens of Moldova have access to the same service no matter where they live, if in rural areas or if in big cities. And this is something we would try to support together with other partners as well, establishing the CAPs really across Moldova, because this not only means access to good services for citizens, but as well enabling the communities to manage projects, to track their energy sources, to really have a good database as well, a digital database, to know where do we need to invest, where are gaps, what do I need to tackle first. So this would be one priority sector where we really are looking forward to the cooperation, to continue the cooperation we already have. Another one is the SME ecosystem. As you know, the backbone of the German economy, of our economic success, are our SMEs. This is where our strength comes from, where the money comes from. And so I have the feeling it's especially SMEs in Moldova, especially the smaller ones, where there is are some gaps in digitalizing the services. If it's customer relations, if it's the budget management. So this is another part where you've already done a lot and moving at an incredible pace again, but where we would like to continue our support to enable all SMEs to move on that digital track. And that includes as well, for example, a cross-border cooperation. This includes transport, logistics, digital management at the borders of customs. So there are many topics related to this, cadastral systems as well, to really know who owns which part of the land and where investments are safe. So this is all related to being competitive in the European market. So this would be a second priority, I would say. And then just to highlight another topic that we sometimes forget about in this fast-moving times, the social sector. So I think social assistance, leaving no one behind, is really part of European values and of Moldovan values as well. You welcomed over 1 million of Ukraine refugees here, which is really unprecedented, I think. And there is really a challenge, of course, to integrate everybody. Is in the rural areas, Moldovans in the rural areas, is it Ukrainian refugees into those systems? And this is a topic we are working on together with UNICEF, actually, to supporting digital systems so that we have the data, who is affected, who does need what, but as well to ensure with systems like e-social, having one-stop shops, that everybody really has access to the great support you offer from the Moldovan government already. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I hope you all have had the feedback we've got from individual states, members of the European Union, Switzerland, multilaterals, all friends of ours, please bear in mind there is more work to be done. Now, Adrian, you would have, I would say, double hats or two hats, since on the one hand, we look at you and you look at us as partners in development as well, but also private sector, so private investments. What is your perspectives? You're already active as an entity here in the country. What is your view or views looking forward in terms of venture capital, for instance, private investments in assisting this journey of ours? Maybe you look at it differently. Well, you know the famous Marcel Proust once said that the real act, paraphrasing it, the real act of discovery is not in finding new lands, but looking with different eyes. So maybe you look at it differently.
For sure. So, no pressure, I guess I'm at the end. Being the only Moldovan in the panel, it's an honor. Thank you so much for everything you do, and everyone, I think, appreciates the work that you put into our country, support and patience. I represent UMAEV. UMAEV stands for Ukraine Moldova American Enterprise Fund. We've been one of the first investors and one of the only few investment funds in Moldova and Ukraine. And we established in 1994. We've done more than 150. Is my microphone working? Yeah. And including, we've invested in Moldova already plus $55 million. And companies such as Natur Bravo, you might have recognized, one of the first investors in MAIB. We founded Horizon. So it is crucially important, not just to make money, but to support Moldova in its growth. And if you look at the investment cycle, usually any business starts with an idea, with a thought. So we want to be there. And this is why we created the Ventures program. I hope many of you have heard. We've already helped startups such as to grow, Bloom Coding, specialized in education, Aspect Health, and many more. Then on the next stage, after you've proven the idea, after you've tested everything, we've recently launched U-Capital program, of which I'm a part of, and we are specifically focused on companies that want to scale, that want to grow. Looking at companies that have a product already tested, looking at companies that are profitable, and there is potential for more growth. Now, how do we stay competitive? Coming back to the question, I made this introduction because it's important for you to understand how we approach everything. It's important to be aligned with EU. That opens the door. But then what is more important, in my view, and I think for the whole private sector, is to be competitive. Because otherwise we open the door and we kill ourselves or shoot ourselves in the foot. So this is where we come in. We want to make companies competitive. We want to bring the capital. We want to create the teams. We want to make the government standards together with the founders. We want to build the standards for quality. And we want to make, as a whole, the company competitive on a global and European scale. There are many programs, so there are loans, especially nowadays. You have grants, you have ODA, you have state aid, World Bank, you name it. They're all important, they're all supporting companies, they will all help you to build new facilities, export, receive certifications. That's good. What do we bring? We bring partnership. We are here with you. And this is why we call it equity capital. So we become as part of your family, of the business. We have the skin in the game. We bring our own expertise to help you navigate this difficult market. We help you pick the best strategy. We help you connect with other companies. And we ride this whole way together. So if you lose, we lose. And it was very good to start with the dance, because I believe you cannot dance a hora alone. You know, so the Western countries or English-speaking countries have this name, a company. So a company means a bunch of people, a company of people. In Romanian, I would say we should use hora. We should have company named hora, because that just tells you that any type of business should be done together. You cannot do any business alone. Either it's AI, it's all about the team, it's all about being driven, it's all about the vision, and then the rest can be bought, can be taken, you know, it's physical. All right, not to make it too long, I would like to leave you with that. Innovation is good, but that only gets you noticed. I think the next stage is capital, and this is where we'll be more than happy to help. Also create the team and bring the expertise. So I'll be the whole day around the area. Please don't hesitate to approach me and let's talk. Thank you.
Thanks, Adrian. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have had a couple of words which would be will be the pillars of our discussions during today and tomorrow. This is responsibility, this is transparency, this is liability. At the end of the day, this is teamwork, hora. And as a team, we will succeed. And I'm positive about that. You've heard us saying about a program that we have launched called Reushim. It's not something set in stones as a cabinet decision, as a law. This is an initiative where we want to bring all of us together to speak with one voice, since only together we can succeed. Otherwise, it is not possible. Are there any questions to the distinguished guests of ours within this panel? Talking about efficiency, we're efficient and we're on time. Yeah. Are any questions? No questions. Then, please, do allow me first. Thank you very much indeed for all the support provided to this state of ours, to the support in our journey towards the European Union, to individual support to individual ministries and state agencies, including the one that I'm representing here together with the team. Not only in terms of digitalization, not only in terms of innovation, but in terms of friendship, in terms of sharing experience, in terms of sharing the experience where not to make mistakes. And I was serious when I was saying that we had teachers which continue to be our tutors these days. But the most important what we have heard from them is that do not make the mistakes you have made. There's always much better when a student is better, pardon my tautology, than the teacher. Now we're in a position to teach others. And again, I was serious when I was saying that we had requests from central countries to come to Moldova and look into that specific startup ecosystem. And I said, please do come. And we'll make sure that everything is being covered from A to Z, what you need to hear, lessons learned, advice, anything to bear in mind going forward. Thanks a lot. Without you, we wouldn't succeed. Without the European Union, without member states, without Switzerland, without bilaterals and multilaterals, institutions, organizations. Tremendous thanks from the citizens, from the private sector, and from me personally. Thank you very much indeed. And successful day one and day two. Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. Thank you, dear guests. Let me see how many of you have actually managed to leave the chair in the past 2 hours. If you're starting to feel a little numb, I want to remind you that we have an expo zone right behind us. There you can find multiple things. I wish I could tell you all the names of the respective... Oh, am I? Yeah. You can go to the expo zone. Let's give them a round of applause. Yep. I wish I could say the correct English translation of all these institutions, but I might not be able to, so let me just say it in Romanian. We have an expo zone filled with Agenția de Guvernare Electronică, Agenția Servicii Publice, STISC, Organizația pentru Dezvoltarea Antreprenoriatului, Serviciul Fiscal de Stat, Centrul de Tehnologii Informaționale în Finanțe și Agenția Geodezie, Cadastru și Cartografie, or as we like to call it, AGCC. So there you will also, at AGE's stand, you will be able to test the digital wallet. You will be able to see for yourself how it works. And I think it's a very exciting thing, and hope that we do get to see it live sometime soon. But next we will be talking about the future of payments. And the person who comes on stage will be... Oops. The person who comes on stage heads the regional team responsible for building partnerships with MasterCard's customers across 81 countries. His domains, he's been in it for 20 years, are consulting, marketing, loyalty, data platforms, and cybersecurity. And for over 20 years, like I said, Andras has worked within finance, banking, and payments world. His topic is the future of payments beyond transactions to AI-driven intelligence. So, before I give these guys a Red Bull for them to move a little faster, let me invite on stage Andras Kovacs.
Hi everyone, how are you? Thank you very much for having the opportunity to be here in front of you. It's my first time in Moldova, but certainly will not be the last. I would like to start with a request. Under no circumstances should you ask me to dance for your sake and Mike's sake. That would be a disaster. Let me start with a personal story before we go into the presentation itself and the content for today. I was starting my studies in Italy in 2001 in Milan. And I remember in 2003 trying to apply for my first jobs as a Hungarian citizen in London, which at that time, before Brexit, was part of EU. And I got rejected because I had to fill in that I don't have a job permit, and it was a difficulty. There came a very important moment, 2004, May the 1st, when Hungary joined the European Union, and suddenly all the roads opened up. So my wish to you, sitting on this stage, is that you go through the same journey, the same happiness, and you probably have seen the videos just a month ago when it felt like Hungary is rejoining the European Union in a way, and we are certainly celebrating in style. So I wish that your celebration when Moldova joins the EU will be as good or better than what we did in Budapest just a month ago. Now, in terms of the content, I got an easy request 2 months ago. Please come to Moldova, talk about the future of payments. Now, if there's one thing that we know about the future of payments, it's very hard to predict. Yet I stand here today with the conviction that if you invite me back in a couple of years, and we'll look back at the predictions I'm going to make today, I'm quite comfortable it will happen exactly the way I'm explaining it. Now, the reason for that can be multiple. One is I'm a little bit naive and overly optimistic, and I have to admit that's possibly true as well. But let me give you 2 other reasons why I have high conviction that what I'm about to present to you is really happening. The first reason, and please go back with me in time to 2012, there's a gentleman, a brilliant colleague of mine, his name is Jorn Lambert. Today he's our Chief Product Officer. At that time, tokenization was happening around us, and he thought, okay, this is great that we have this technology, but how do we bring it to consumers? So he wanted to find a partner that could help us who would be known for consumer experience. And I think we all agree one brand that we can think of in terms of consumer experience is Apple. So he knocked on the door of Apple saying he has a brilliant idea, and he pitched them a concept that became known later as Apple Pay. I think that is considered one of the successful projects out there that truly changed payments. So don't take it from me, but take it from Jorn, who just told me in person a few weeks ago that what's happening right now in front of us in terms of agentic commerce is going to have as big, if not bigger, repercussions on the payment industry than Apple Pay and XPay did over the past 12 years. And the third reason, or the second reason why hopefully the first reason is not the interpretation, is MasterCard is not watching this from the sidelines. We're actually making that change happen. So of course, when you have agency on the future, it's more likely that whatever you're predicting is going to happen. That said, I know I'm in a room of people, some who are technically very advanced, others who might be brand new at this. So let me try to take a dual mission for this presentation today. One will be to tell you what is this agentic commerce future that we are talking about, but also to tell you what is MasterCard's role in making this journey happen, and bust the myth once and forever that we are a card company, because we are so far beyond that, and I really believe we are operating in the space of identity, trust, and security. So let's take Go on the Whirlwind together. Sorry about this. Where should I point? All right, very good. So if you look at the evolution of AI over the past years, and everyone talked about it, all I can say is the following. I remember going home a few years ago to my hometown in Hungary and told my mother and my father, please download ChatGPT. Maybe you don't understand it yet, but you will use it. And I remember I was home a few weeks ago, and I told them, okay, time to switch to Claude. And I think all of us in the room are using it. We see the evolution of that. So I'm not going to talk about that. That would be boring. But let me talk about the exciting stuff. And I can tell you, even to me, a few months ago, this was something new. So hopefully you will hear about something that you haven't heard before. I had the benefit of being in Saudi Arabia around 3-4 months ago at a similar conference, and I saw the first agentic commerce real-life transaction happen live. And I'm happy to say that thanks to the brilliant colleagues, some of them here in the room today, this week in Moldova, you also completed the first agentic commerce real transaction, which is quite amazing, and that means you are in the forefront of the top countries driving this change around us. If someone can help with the slide to go forward, please. Very good. So in terms of what is the change that is driven, there are 3 layers to it. The first part is, I would call the technological layer, and it's very simple. We understand all of that. Agents and AI tools are helping build the next generation of AI. We can see how ChatGPT went from 3, 4, 5, 5.5, Opus from 4, 7, 4, 8. The pace of change is happening faster and faster. They coined the term AI vampires, the best coders who are working around the clock to go faster and faster because they are using the tools to become more efficient. Okay, that's the part of AI. But what about business? We see that it has changing implications on the workforce as well. Companies are using individuals augmented by AI to be even faster. But now comes the fun part, and the part which I'm here to talk to you about. What does it mean in terms of the payments world? Effectively, what we are going towards, and I'm certain it's happening, please take my word for it, that we are going towards a world when agents will be in a marketplace as autonomous shoppers. We are talking about not going onto Google to do a search and then going to a store, buy it, or going into eBay, but coming with an intent to your AI tool, to your agent, and fully completing the transaction autonomously. All right? This will have major implications, but for those people who prefer, video and visuals as opposed to me just talking, let me try to present it so you can imagine what I'm talking about. All right? So let me present to you our new buyer, a new agent in this system called the AI agent. Let's play the video. So what you see behind me is me being in Istanbul, trying to book a ticket. The AI tool responding to me. I'm explaining that I'm flying back on the following Sunday, and the tool itself is thinking, reacting to it. Gives me the option. This we could do with Skyscanner or any other tool before, but the real difference will be when I go from the intent to the actual purchase itself, the reservation, and an actual transaction occurred. I never had to leave. I never had to go to somewhere else. In the past, we talked about click to mortar and completing transactions. Here, we are talking about full booking. Of course, the AI is smart enough to understand if you're traveling, you might need a hotel as well. We are completing the transaction. I could do it by voice as well, not just through chat, but of course, chat is convenient. It will give me options again. And the same difference. We have always looked at hotel comparison sites, but I went into a reservation with one click. I didn't have to input my details or anything like that. Everything happened. And of course, everything is now synced up with my calendar. I got the manuals. This is an agentic commerce transaction. And this is the key part. Of course, I had to have the intent, I had to complete it, to confirm it, but the whole transaction happened. A simple passkey transaction. By the way, the colleagues in the room, I think they implemented passkey here in Moldova in a 2-week timeline to make it happen. So well done. This is reality here in your country today. So let's go further. Now that we understand who is the AI agent, you might ask, all right, what are the implications for the economy? And I can say it's pretty profound. Very good. So the first part that we have been talking about is the consumer to agent journey. We are talking about me as an individual doing a purchase myself for my hotel and flight. But of course, as this scales further, we will go into the second phase of it, enterprise to agent. When procurement transactions by companies are happening directly by agents, you are simply scaling up. And the final part of it, and this seems like future today, but I assure you, companies around the world right now, at this moment, are racing to make it happen, is agent-to-agent transactions. When me as the consumer are being represented by my agent to buy, on the other end, the seller has his or her own agent to help me complete the transaction. So we simply went from an individual to an online to a machine-to-machine conversation, and this will scale. Now we can go into millions of transactions in nanoseconds going super, super fast. All right, this is both exciting and scary a bit at the same time. So what will it mean for the economy? I'll just give you some numbers. I think this is the part that is a bit in the air, but I think it's helpful to understand the scale. And we looked at all the think tanks around the world to get the data. We believe that by 2030, AI-mediated transactions, means AI had some part in it, will represent around $3 to $5 trillion of transactions worldwide. Even today, around 42% of consumers would say, in certain categories, I would be okay to use an AI. Buy toothpaste, buy groceries, low agency kind of things. But more importantly, even in Europe and North America, by 2035, and this is a very important number to remember and reflect on, roughly 18 to 20%, 1 in 5 transactions will be done autonomously by agents. So full execution, not just the intent, but completing the transaction itself. But obviously, and this is the part where we have to get technical, I promise even for the room who are more advanced than me to hear something new, to work in this space, you need new ways of working. You need a new infrastructure. Think of new roads. There are 4 components of it, and I'll elaborate on each of them. New payment protocols, and if you don't know what that is, don't worry, I'll explain it in simple terms. Spend controls, multi-rail settlement. Remember, I mentioned MasterCard is not a card company. And lastly, identity, security, and trust, which is at the center of all of this. Without it, the whole transaction process fails. The same way we use our credit cards, because if we know something goes wrong, the bank will reimburse it, will be able to protect us. So let's understand each of these one by one, very quickly. In terms of payment protocols, what does it mean? Payment protocols effectively, if we think of our individual experiences, is the checkouts, the logins, the one-time passwords, the stuff that we hate. But I'm sure you all know now, if you go onto a website and you start putting in the first digit of your card number, it gets filled in, it goes and completes it. Now we have to design the same type of payment protocols, but for agents. Without going too technical, there are 3 components of that needs to be solved. Payment initiations and credentials. And MasterCard is very active in this space with our technology called MasterCard Agent Pay. And of course, we are competing with others. Then you have agent-native checkout protocols, replacing the human transactions. And companies like Stripe and Shopify with their partners are very active in this. And finally, the last stage, machine-to-machine protocols. And here again, Stripe, Coinbase with their partners are making it happen. So that's the payment protocols. Let's understand the second component of it, which is spend control. And it's very simple. I'll give you a definition that you will be able to remember. What an agent can buy, how much it can spend, with whom, and under what conditions. So you as a consumer will only be willing to give the power over your money to agents, your agent, if there are certain limits. So if something goes wrong, you can feel safe. You will never give your debit card with your full bank balance or your credit card with full transactions. You'll find limits. And to keep it simple, you have to work on the authorization part, the prepayment, and the post-payment part. Think of it this way. Virtual cards that you are issuing like a prepaid card just to that agent. usage-based controls. If you hit a certain spending limit, a certain category, you stop. And then the smart contracts to make sure legally it's working as well. This is the part around limits. The third part, which I talked about, is multi-rail. I mentioned already before, this is not about cards at all, cards only. And to prove that, we are really playing, we believe in consumer choice at MasterCard. So of course, for certain transactions, buying shoes, buying online, paying for a school, cards are perfect and doing it online. However, for big transactions, imagine like a $50,000 corporate transfer, you will not use a card payment. There you will use bank transfers and you will do real-time payments. And that's completely okay. You use the technology which is fit for the right type of transaction. But then think about the times where you will have to pay a portion of a dollar cent for a single API call. The current technology is completely useless for that, but we are going in this direction. So stable coins and CBDCs are the way to make that happen, and they can do lots of transactions shortly. And then finally, you are doing a cross-border complex transaction. Blockchain is perfectly fit for that. It's the same way, if you remember back, what was one of Amazon's key promises or eBay's, the escrow account. If the goods don't arrive to you, you will get reimbursed. So this is that equivalent for the payments world. Finally, as a last piece of that puzzle, we are going, and probably the most important, the trust layer, the identity and security. And think about it this way, all the tools have been built around spotting if you're in a different country, irregular behaviors, how is your hand, how are you using it, is it many transactions happening at the same time? If you are going to the world of agents, all this security is useless. You can throw it out and you have to start from the beginning. So the four components of it, and again, MasterCard is making it happen at the moment. The first part is know your agent, effectively having electronic credentials, footprint for you as an agent. And talking of footprint, the second part is audit trail. I remember back in the days we were talking about machine learning and the early days of AI, the problem was, oh, it's a black box. We don't know what's happening, so we can't even explain why we got to that result. Today, if you are using Claude, and if you are not using it, please use it, you will see the thought process as the machine is going forward, and you can see it live, so you understand what's happening, and you can intervene. So the same for the agents. You will be able to see every step of the transaction, be able to audit it. The third part, very important, agent behavior monitoring and scoring. So MasterCard will be scoring the agents. If the agent is buying your bread, your milk, your toothpaste, your washing detergent, it's pretty safe, especially if it completed 1 million transactions over time. If it's doing dangerous stuff, high transactions, the first time we are seeing it, that agent will get the same risk like we are doing in the card space. And then finally, we have to build agent-native anti-money laundering and fraud detection rules. I believe it's boring, and I get that, but without this new infrastructure, this new thing is not going to happen. Like I said, we are making it happen. So let me bring it together. I want to leave you behind today with a simple message that if your friends or your family ask, so what is this whole agent nonsense, and what did we talk about, how can I understand it? The best technologies, I'm sure you agree, are extremely simple. Everyone knows when you're using Apple Pay, you use 2 clicks, you pay. You don't need to know how it's working. It should just happen. The same goes with agentic commerce. The simple process is the following. An agent needs to buy a purchase. You have a need. It does the research for you, like we saw in the example with the hotel and the airline. It initiates the payment, and most importantly, the agent completes the payment. So you will never have to start looking for your credit card, look at your details, go into your mobile app. It's all tokenized. It's all behind happening. And ultimately, the service is unlocked. And as it always goes, more simple the consumer experience, the more complex is what lies underneath. I will not repeat one by one. You can read it here. We talked about all of this so far. Know your agent, payment protocols, multi-rail settlement, and so on. Let me leave you with the last slide. And I'm sure this is something that you will all be able to relate to, because we have gone through this journey. Ultimately, what's happening in front of us, and it's certainly happening, is a new actor is entering commerce. That means that the existing infrastructure that was created for humans is wrong for it. And now the question is, who moves fastest to build the new railroads, the new infrastructure to make it happen? Think about, and my claim is the following, and hold me accountable. Over the next 18 months, the standards are being created that will drive the payments industry for the next 20 years, the same way how Apple Pay and XPays were created and created the experience we have today. We, of course, all started, and many of us in the room are old enough that we used to use cash when we went to stores. Then we went into the card era, which is evident and certainly behind us. Then we went to the e-com era, think of the Amazons and think about the eBays. Then, of course, everything went to mobile. Most of us here on our mobile phones, not on our laptops right now. So we went into the wallet era. And in that era, those who build these digital wallets who were winning. And finally, what's happening in front of us that many of you might not have been aware of, but hopefully after today you will be, we are already in the agentic era. In this space, those who build the identity, trust, and programmable payments layer will be the ones winning. I can assure you MasterCard is one of these players, and we are happy to partner with each and one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andras. I was listening to this and thinking, imagine an agentic AI that acts like your mother or grandmother. And it tells you, I know better what you need to get for yourself. Or you're not eating enough, let me order you more food. Or stuff like that. Anyway, what Andras was talking about is that in 18 months, in the next 18 months, a lot of things are going to change. And what the next speaker is going to be talking about is similar, but in a very unusual way. I'll let her do the talking, I'll let her present it to you, and I'll tell you her name. Her name is Michelle Iliev. She is the State Secretary for Digitalization and Innovation at the Ministry of Digitalization and Economic Development. So, let's start. First slide, please.
And I think now it works. Well, I'm waiting for my first slide. Since our existence, the world knows only one picture of Moldova. Next slide, then we will adapt. It's not working, yeah? Cool. Poorest country in Europe with a population declining and always catching up. We all know this card. It appears in every report, every ranking about our country. We became used to the idea that being small is a weakness. Sometimes I wonder, are we describing ourselves? Or explaining ourselves. And because my presentation is not working, I will go now on stage. We have 2 years to change what's on this card. Well, now you know whose card it was in the teaser at the beginning of the event. So 2 years. No pressure, of course, for us. We've done this before. But before we talk about the future, let's change a bit the optics. Next slide. So apparently we've been busy with some stuff. So please, let's give a round of applause for all the institutions, all the businesses, and all the agencies, government, public, private, that have been working on that despite of what we had in our country. So guess what? We have 2 years to build on that. And you may wonder why 2 years. A few years ago, artificial intelligence felt distant, interesting, powerful, maybe useful one day. A little like COVID felt in 2020. Do you remember that time? I think we all have it in our bones and masks. People heard about COVID. Experts debated about it. But from the rest of the world, it seems far, far away from the reality. Then, suddenly, the reality changed. And this is how major shifts works. They move quietly for years, and they reset everything at once. And we have seen this before in the history. The first industrial revolution changed the value of physical labor. And countries that adapted in the first 20 years, they dominated the global market and economy for centuries. The countries that waited became suppliers or dependent for generations. Now, artificial intelligence is changing the value of our cognitive work. And it just passed the threshold, moving into so-called frontier AI. Maybe it's a new term, you can search it, it will be in our vocabulary for many years. So it's the same inflection, but different century. Some of you may say that the game is already set, that we know the big players in the room, in the world, that the leaders are obvious, and you just have to pick a system and just follow. I profoundly disagree. The technology is consolidating. The governance is not. The rules are still being written. And the countries with faster institutions, with real-world experience and clear values still have a place at the table, if they choose to show up. So, what we choose? This is indeed a very rare and beautiful moment in history. In the economy that is being built now, the size is no longer the only advantage. Speed matters, focus matters, the courage to test new things matters. So we have 2 years to build on our assets, but also before the game is changed and set for many, many centuries. We have 2 years as a country to move from execution to creation, from services to products, and from talent export to intellectual property. And not because we are ready and we have all the answers and we have set everything, but because we are precisely positioned for something very, very specific. The sandbox country and economy of Europe. And when I say sandbox, I do mean a playground. You've heard about that from the Deputy Prime Minister and Marta Kost in the morning. So we mean a serious national testing environment where applied AI, cybersecurity, health tech, gov tech can be tested quickly, safely, and responsibly before they're scaled and deployed elsewhere. So we want to become a boutique country for serious innovation, not just for kids, just to make sure. And let me be precise about what kind of sandbox this is. Tesla chose California and Nevada not randomly, but because the specific condition made the data meaningful. Water management AI chose sub-Saharan Africa because the real scarcity cannot be simulated in a lab. A testing environment can and has value because of the context it provides. Moldova is not a cheap space. Moldova is a relevant space. So let's take cybersecurity. Moldova did not choose to become a frontline state in the hybrid warfare. But we are one. We faced cyber attacks, with disinformation campaigns, while building institutions, running elections, staying on course toward European Union. For many countries, cyber resilience is a simulation exercise. For us, sometimes it's just a Tuesday morning. Our exposure now becomes our expertise. We can test what others sometimes even can't imagine. So this is our edge, and maybe based on the speech at the beginning of Commissioner Kos, it's the momentum of our country. So my question to you, if we as a community, as a country, are ready for this, for a new vision, not technically, institutionally, or educationally, but do we have the discipline to focus on less things and do them well enough that will matter for everyone in this country? And I feel that in this room we have the critical mass that can follow this idea. This is not something that we will just watch happening. This is something that all of you, each of you, has to join to make it happen. The sandbox idea is not just a tech strategy. I have 40 pages for that I can share. And if I have here some volunteers you can have for a peer review. It's more a statement about who we choose to be. So you may take the blue pill, the red pill, you know the metaphor here. Moldova is 35 years old. At 35 and mid-30s, you are not longer catching up. You know your assets, you know what you have learned, and you know that this is the momentum. And when I'm telling this, I feel it deeply in my bones because I'm the same age as my country. And after all we have been through, I think it's time, and you have the card, to flip the card. So if you agree, raise your card and flip it. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. I was being in two places at once, so let me get back to the stage. Did you like it? Yeah, I feel like you're hungry. I didn't hear that. Did you like it? Yes, okay. So, before Michelle waits to get back on stage, let's watch a very nice video about the next topic.
Welcome to Moldova High-Tech Park, the home of advanced tech sectors where Moldova's talent, research, industries, and global partners come together to accelerate deep tech innovation in healthcare and medtech, cybersecurity, GovTech, Createch, and other industries of the future. United by a simple principle, government, industry, and university working as one to generate real value. For innovators,
my name is Cosmin Ciorba, and I've been obsessed with robotics in Moldova since grade school. And right now we're building the first European hybrid drone, a drone that can both fly in the air and also navigate underwater. A place like this park, I believe, doesn't just support this passion, but actually multiplies it.
For the economy,
I'm Alexandru Andrushka. At Argus AI, we've pioneered mixed reality neurosurgery to save lives. This park provides the gravity we need to pull the future closer. It's our bridge to global markets. Join us, and let's build together.
For the business sector.
Hi, I'm Marcel Varlan, CEO of Micro Nanotech, and we are manufacturers of microwires, microcoils, nanowires, and so many other microcomponents. We are acting on a global scale. We are located in Chisinau, Moldova. Hopefully soon we will be part of High-Tech Park in Moldova, where we'll be allowed to be in the ecosystem of innovation and advanced technologies.
Backed by investment and designed to testbed what's possible in Moldova and beyond. Scaling solutions for a global market.
I'm Ion Golovko. At Bloomsense, our smart weather stations are digitizing the soil to ensure agricultural precision. We chose the park to surround ourselves with Moldova's brightest minds, to accelerate R&D from months to weeks. Let's cultivate something extraordinary together.
Because innovation doesn't stop at ideas.
Hi, my name is Lydia Scarlett. In my world, creativity and tech go hand in hand. Breakthroughs happen at the intersection of the right time, space, people, and insights. I'm excited for Moldova High-Tech Park becoming the ecosystem amplifying these key elements. We're already working on exceptional world-class projects, and now the momentum is perfect to accelerate and build more with our talent, real ambition, partnerships, and infrastructure.
We're creating a city where new technologies can be developed and tested to make a change. Welcome to a 50-hectare vision. We're building more than a park. We're engineering a smart, sponge city ecosystem. Imagine a blueprint that integrates everything: state-of-the-art offices, advanced medical facilities, and high-tech manufacturing, all set within a resilient, eco-driven urban forest. It's a self-sustaining landscape where technology breathes, scales, and finally changes the world. This is Moldova High-Tech Park, the home of our local brilliance and the heartbeat of the international tech ecosystem. The engines are running and the coordinates are set. Take your place at the controls, and let's lead the next leap together.
Well, if it's not already clear, let's talk about Moldova High-Tech Park, innovation, investment, and opportunity. And leading this, Michelle Iliev, State Secretary for Digitalization and Innovation.
The microphone? Okay. Well, you know already what we have to do and what's our target. Now let's go into details how we want to do that. High-Tech Park is the flagship project that we see it as a driver for the presentation that I've been presenting. And we have two special people that are working hardly for this project to become real. And let me introduce those people. Doina Nistor was on this stage 1 year ago. As Deputy Prime Minister, announcing the High-Tech Park, and told Moldova that we will build the first innovation district, something that Moldova hasn't seen before. And today, she's representing the Agency of Public Property, and she's the chairwoman, of the board of High-Tech Park. So she changed the role, but the vision and the ambition is there. Doina, welcome back. Yesterday at Investment Moldova conference, it's been signed a memorandum of understanding for building the first buildings, at Tech Park. And the strategic partners that signed this MOU is EBRD. And we have today Alexander Sovan on behalf of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. We know that EBRD is not signing MOUs just to be polite. So thank you once again for yesterday. And let's go into more details. I think I can sit here. Yeah. So, Doina, 1 year ago, we have announced here High-Tech Park. Since then, a lot of things moved on. We have, since then, a special law in place. We have a managing entity, a site, and soon a pre-feasibility study. Can you walk us through this journey, what's happened this year, and what's coming next this year?
Thank you, and so great to be back on the Digital Summit with such a special project for Moldova, for our country, and not only for our country, but I think for the whole region. We oftentimes say, and we've seen that Moldova is a front runner in digitalization. We have the fastest growing ICT sector in the Eastern Europe. This year, we have been announced as the fastest growing startup destination in Eastern Europe. So I think there is a lot of us to build on. But when we ask ourselves, and I see a lot of engineers here in the room, how do your future jobs look like? Where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years? How does your company look like? And we had yesterday a networking conversation with some large tech companies that are struggling to pass on through the technological transformation and the storm that is taking us. Moldova High Tech Park is about capitalizing on the Moldova's IT growth so far, what we've been really good at, but also preparing for the future, for a future that we don't know yet, for a future that we can shape together, and actually building value to our IT sector. What does it mean, building value? We want to excel as an innovation country, as a sandbox, as you said, rightfully said so, Michelle. We want to be a test box, sandbox for cybersecurity, for artificial intelligence. We want to exploit our exceptional competencies at the intersection of engineering and healthcare sector, and that is why in Moldova High Tech Park, we want to build a next generation of health tech. Have we advanced? How does a 50-hectare, very large and complex project come to life? I think with the support of many partners, we see Moldova High Tech Park as built on 3 pillars. One is the government. The government is very important because we have the special law that was passed last year in July. It's called Legea 206, the Law 206 on development of Moldova High Tech Park. So this signals that there is strong political support for this project. Second, we have the cities of Chișinău and Stoceni that are ready to contribute and make available, the land, the infrastructure, and that is very important because we want to build an exciting environment where the young people can thrive, live, educate, and grow together and build companies. Third, we have the universities because we're not building just a business park. We're building an innovation campus, an innovation district where we have science, where we have research, where we have innovation, where we have knowledge jobs. Our objective is to create the jobs of the future, to create together. We want to attract 20,000 talented people, students, engineers, and not only, who want to contribute to Moldova's next innovation leap. Of course, the project comes in stages. We are now at the master planning phase. We will have several stages of development, and the first stage is until 2030. We are lucky that we have such strong partners as EBRD anchoring the project. But first and foremost is about the vision, is about what we want the Moldova High Tech Park to become, and this is we want it to become a business park, an education park, and an innovation park.
Thank you, Doina. So let's build on that. We have several phases for this project. And I'm moving to Alexandru, because yesterday indeed we had, thank you, Alexei. Before I go to Alexandru, we have here a QR code, and I would like to ask you to scan it and to give us your reply on that. And after the question to Alexander and answer, we will go back to see how you see this project. So yesterday has been signed MOU, a letter of intent. It's quite ambitious project that you believed in, and it's very important for the government and for the society to have such a strong backup. Can we go a bit into more detail? So we have the vision that has been presented by Doina. Let's go now into details. What means phase 1 and how we can get to a loan agreement and building the first sites on
how we can get the bulldozers on the land.
Because I think that's the main question everyone is waiting for since last year. We can talk about the governmental decisions and all the backup of the, but I think it's more practical to understand when this will start.
Yes, Michelle, Doina, great to be here today, and it's great to see such a big interest and such big potential in our country. It's also great to be here to share the views on this landmark project for Moldova. Indeed, yesterday was a big day. Was a big day for the country. A number of MOUs were signed, letters of intent as well. One of them was indeed the Memorandum of Understanding that was signed actually by our Managing Director for Ukraine and Moldova, Arvid Turkner, together with Minister Osmokescu. The project is promoted by the government of the Republic of Moldova as well as the EBRD under the EU Growth Plan for Moldova. And it's great to see EU early support for such visionary ideas. Indeed, we do not take this lightly, and significant work has already been done because we see that this project has merit. It's both transformational and innovative. It can deliver growth and impact, and creating an innovation ecosystem is the idea that stands at its core. And because we believe in it, we've actually mobilized best-in-class, I would say, consultancy to help all of us strategize, to help build this vision, to build the concept that we will all be pursuing, as well as technical expertise to come with those cost estimates, with the layout recommendations that would serve as the basis for, let's say, this phase one of Moldova High Tech Park. In terms of, and I sensed a number of questions there, so in terms of what it takes, and what phase one will entail. Let me start with that, and I'll get to how do we get to a loan agreement and to get to the groundbreaking ceremonies and start digging. Well, first of all, MHTP has 50 hectares available, as you've seen. That's a lot. Okay, Moldova High Tech Park and the team has to start somewhere. So that somewhere is what we jointly call this phase one, on which we are strategizing now, basically. We are discussing several options. For now, I guess we will be focusing on this first 7-hectare plot area that we will be developing together. Part of the facilities that would be there is what we would be calling EBRD financed phase one, with some of the initial buildings and some of the facilities we would be financing. Okay? In practical terms, I would say we would focus on building the initial office buildings, the Innovation Community Center. We would shoulder let's say, the enabling infrastructure. To give like a few examples of what would be there, like Class A office space, as was mentioned, by the way, in the console that was seen for ICT companies. Green certified, of course. R&D and laboratory infrastructure, startup and accelerator facilities, health tech and life tech science facilities, as well as, parking goes without saying, most likely above ground multi-level parking, and of course utilities. We are also discussing about access road segments that we would be looking forward to also support. So it's quite a lot going on, quite a lot being strategized.
It's 10 minutes only. We will recount.
And in terms of how do we get from here, from an MOU being signed to a loan signing and have the financing available, basically we look forward to concluding actually hopefully in June this conceptual part, the pre-feasibility study that our teams are working together. I would say, 6-7 steps that I can mention. So once we fully agree on what exactly is to be implemented, we will deploy this more detailed technical feasibility study to confirm for all of us the amounts and the exact facilities. So that will be the second. Once it's concluded, and we basically agree between the EBRD and Moldova High Tech Park, the Ministry of Economic Development and Digitalization as, let's say, the lead agency within the government, we expect the ministry to go to the cabinet to seek the confirmation at the chief's level, the Interministerial Strategic Committee, for the amount and the scope of the project. Now, this third step basically unlocks two streams. First, EBRD will knock on EU's door to apply for the investment grant that we will jointly be seeking, basically, under the EU Neighborhood Investment Platform. So it's an investment grant that we will be attracting for this project. And EBRD, based on the same decision, will proceed to its board approval so that we can then discuss the loan agreement to be signed between the countries.
So our common deadline is to move this project by next year.
Yes.
Q4, so by the end of December 2026, to start the excavating and building signing the loan and in the same time starting the constructions?
Time is of the essence, absolutely.
Time is of essence, and I think everybody is expecting to see visible things, visible progress for Moldova High Tech Park. So the objective is to complete the master planning and get the excavators on the site, and this would be together with EBRD, as we are discussing for EBRD to fund the first stage of construction of infrastructure of the park. And what is important is the partners and the residents that will come to the park.
At which stage they come? So can they come in parallel with EBRD, or they can come into the first buildings?
We are happy to announce that there is huge investor interest for Moldova High Tech Park. As of today, we've launched the expression of interest for future residents, future investors, and future knowledge partners. We would like to develop a knowledge community. We see Moldova High Tech Park plugging into the bigger European innovation infrastructure and into the bigger global tech community. And this is extremely important as we're looking to house from startups to tech companies, to health tech companies, to high-tech production areas, but not even less important that we want to have university and study areas, so that it's exciting to build the next generation of knowledge.
But where you can apply for this call, and how the companies or future investors will be selected?
We invite everyone who's interested to follow us. We invite everyone who's interested to become an investor, a resident, or a knowledge partner to talk to us. There's very simple application form. So we can already engage with future partners to discuss. Investment is always a competitive process. The land will be provided to investors for 30 years with the rights to build. And this is the contribution of the Moldovan government to contribute the land as a facility for investors. As I said, we're ready to talk.
I have one question to Alexandru, and then we will look at the results. So, how EBRD also can support private sector that wants also to join or to partner with high-tech parks? So we have the future loan agreement with the government. Do you have additional mechanisms for the future tenants or future investors that they can look at through the partnership with EBRD?
Well, again, a number of things here, actually. The essence of the Moldova High Tech Park is, innovation activity, right? And the activities that the private companies would be doing within Moldova High Tech Park. And it at the core of the bankability and the innovation mandate from EBRD perspective is that the majority of the space be allocated for the purposes of, or for the benefit of, private entities, startups, other companies that will be attracted as residents. In terms of the what is there for the private, so first of all, once the Moldova High Tech Park Phase 1 is built, it's the privates who would be the majority beneficiaries I've just mentioned. The second is it would take private companies to actually build and deploy the same buildings of Phase 1. So it's quite a lot of work for local developers and contractors to shoulder this project to make it a reality. Then it's the wider Phase 1 is basically buildings that would be adjacent to the EBRD Phase 1. It would take private investors to decide to build something that they would see is relevant. Of course, we will all strategize and conceptualize what's relevant to have in the proximity, but these would be projects that investors would have to undertake at their own discretion, and we can finance them as well. If the first project would be financed on a sovereign basis, so we would be financing the Moldovan government to make this project a reality as a Phase 1 for the benefit of startups and the innovation community. The other buildings, with investors, we can provide direct financing to them. So this would be commercial financing to enable these visionary projects.
Thank you. Let's see the results, and I will ask Doina to comment a bit on the results, and maybe based on what we have, I think we have the best
what we see
situation
here
also to go into the signing agreements.
Innovation districts and being competitive in tech is no longer about being competitive in everything. So for Moldova, we want to be extremely, exceptionally good at specific verticals. So please still vote if you haven't voted. Help us to pick the right verticals, the right clusters that we are exceptionally good at. We already know we're health tech and med tech. That comes to no surprise. Moldova has exceptional doctors, exceptional medical education, and exceptional tech companies. Actually, did you know that the largest pool of Moldovan startups are in healthcare? That's immediately after IT. So we have the majority of the votes go to health tech and med tech. Cybersecurity.
But competing with cybersecurity, so let's see if...
These are the government people, I think, voting.
I think they're biased because they... I've been pitching for cybersecurity a lot. Well, it's...
And agri-tech. I mean, who wants exceptional cherries and to have food resilience? Agri-tech is here as a vertical because we are building Moldova High-Tech Park and a network of technology parks, which is, of course, the Agri-Tech Park that's on the campus of the Technical University. Deep Tech, Credtech, and Energy Tech. All right, thank you so much for helping us vote.
We are going to the...
Yep.
And with that, I want to thank you for helping us to vote and to co-create the clusters for Moldova High-Tech Park. Moldova High-Tech Park is a common initiative. It's our joint initiative of the tech sector, of the young people of Moldova, of the future innovators. And I'm very glad to announce that today we will be signing 3 partnership agreements. And I would like to invite up on the stage next to me, because Moldova High-Tech Park has a team, Oleg Uțică, who is the administrator of Moldova High-Tech Park, and give them a big round of applause. We are bootstrapping, so imagine that we're starting Moldova High-Tech Park in the Silicon Valley garage. And I want to give the microphone to Oleg because he has been instrumental to developing the special law that serves as the backbone, the legal and regulatory guarantee for investors. Oleg?
Okay, so give it this one to...
Thank you, Doina.
You can join here.
Se aude?
Yeah, you just have to speak louder.
Thank you, Doina. This is a memorable day for our small team. It is the first presentation of such a scale and accompanied by signing the first memorandums. And on this, I want to invite all the interested companies to get in contact with us. Moldova High-Tech Park has a website, moldovahighTechPark.md. Please get in contact with us. Let's discuss the common points of interest, and let's sign agreements.
Thank you so much, and we'd like to give a big thank you to the Moldovan government and the Moldovan parliament members who have been so instrumental to provide all of the legislative and regulatory support. Big round of applause to the Moldovan government and the Moldovan parliament, and I see some parliament members here. Thank you, Parliamentary Committee for Budget, Economy and Finance, especially. I want to invite here up on stage our first partner. This is Sergiu Manic, the STISC, Moldova's Information Technology and Cybersecurity Center. Oleg, please, for the signing. At Moldova High-Tech Park, we want the government to be at the heart of innovation and to build a GovTech cluster. So we are signing a memorandum of understanding to cooperate on data sovereignty and housing a governmental data center on the campus of Moldova High-Tech Park.
And what we can tell that the data center, we start also the feasibility study, and we will be ready to start, we hope so, next year to start building the first data center in Moldova on this site. So we are doing many things parallel.
Please stay with us on the stage. Next, I would like to announce, to invite next to me the Deputy Rector of the State University for Pharmacy and Medicine. Doamna Jana Chihai, please welcome on stage. Here we will have a virtual signing because this symbolizes the signing of an MOU with Medtronic. Medtronic is one of the largest global companies for medical devices and innovation in the medical healthcare. And with Medtronic, we will be cooperating to develop the future education and future professions, everything at the intersection of healthcare, medical industry, and technology.
Thank you. It's a pleasure for us as a university to be in the front line because medicine always was a little bit conservative, but it's a proud for us to do this partnership and sign this memorandum.
Thank you so much. And we will have, Medtronic is not here because we're signing with the regional division. So we have, with the sound, please.
La Medtronic crede că viitorul sănătății se construiește prin inovație, colaborare și curajul de a transforma ideile în soluții reale pentru pacienți. Suntem mândri să explorăm această colaborare cu Moldova High-Tech Park, un ecosistem dinamic care poate accelera dezvoltarea soluțiilor digitale și a tehnologiilor medicale avansate. Împreună putem conecta expertiza globală cu talentul local pentru a crea soluții care nu doar tratează, ci schimbă modul în care îngrijim pacienții. Aceasta nu este doar o colaborare, este o oportunitate de a construi viitorul health tech în regiune în beneficiul pacienților.
So this has been Cristian Rusu, who is leading head of Medtronic for Romania and Moldova. And just to say that Medtronic has invented the world's smallest pacemaker, which leads me to Marcel Varlan from Micronanotech. Marcel, welcome, because we will sign the third partnership agreement with Marcel Varlan, Micronanotech, for developing a nanotechnology cluster, because if you haven't visited Marcel's site, you should go and see the nanowires, which are extremely tiny wires, but what is more important is that the catheters that are used for non-invasive surgery, cardiovascular surgery, are produced here by Micronanotech, and just in the month of June, there are 30,000 patients that maybe their lives will be saved with the help of your technology.
Yes, indeed. What we are producing now in June will go into human bodies and will save around 30,000 lives globally. Yeah, indeed. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's a dream come true for me as an engineer and entrepreneur to be a part of High-Tech Park in Moldova.
So let's agree that next year at Digital Summit, we cross the street and we see where is the progress? How we are growing.
I want to remind you about our goal. Our goal is to build Moldova's future. Our goal is to build an innovation park that brings value, brings knowledge, and brings the jobs to the young people here in Moldova. It's a 200 million project. We want to create 20,000 jobs. We want to support 1 billion euro of economic value. Please allow me to welcome and thank again all of the supporters, all of the partners for this amazing, amazing project for Moldova's future, and to thank the first partners, and I invite you to take the center stage for a group photo.
So Moldova is moving from an idea, and in less than 1 year, we are already going into execution and implementation. See you next year.
Thank you, everyone. It has become a tradition to sign some sort of memorandum here at Moldova Digital Summit. thinking about what's going to happen next year. In the next keynote, Director of Moldova's e-governance agency presents a clear, evidence-based vision of the country's digital transformation and the progress already achieved. The session highlights measurable returns from digital services delivered within a single year, followed by real-world products used by citizens, including the award-winning app that's on, I hope, everybody's phone, Evo, and the Evo wallet built to the European Digital Identity Standard. The keynote is called One Wallet, One Gateway, One Click. Evo and Moldova's blueprint for a friendly EU-ready digital state. Please welcome Nicoleta Colomiec.
Hi everyone. I hope next year or in 2 years we will be hosting this event at Moldova High Tech Park. But today, let's go through. Where's my presentation? Guys, come on. Thank you. So, we will cut it short. Quick round of hands. Who knows what this number is? Any guesses? Transactions. Anything? Anyone else? Money. Yes, Anna, money, because of course we like money. But over 853 million lei. This is the amount of money that has been, guys, we're going to have a problem.
Said, next slide.
Next slide, thank you. This is the amount of money that we have saved in 2025 alone by using digital public services, and those services, and this number isn't the full number because these are only the numbers that we see in the agency to half of the services that we manage. Just to give you an idea, the estimated savings in euros is 44 million euros. Do you know how much we have invested in the past 15 years to build up Moldova's e-governance agency and the building blocks that sit and underpin Moldova's digital transformation efforts? 40 million euros. I'll give you the answer real quick. So in just 1 year, we have saved almost in time and money as much as we've invested. Next slide, please. That rounds about to over 9 million hours in total and comes to 1,000 years of life, if that's for one person. But the average citizen, this saved close to 1 working day in savings. Let's go. So when we looked at how we approach digital transformation, when we looked at how we organize our thinking, when we looked at how we govern digital transformation in Moldova and how we build out the building blocks next, we have said that bringing technology is not enough, not in 2026. Re-engineering processes is not enough, not in 2026. And we have set forth a vision that is clear-cut and simple. It's to build the friendliest digital state. Next slide. And there are 4 key pillars that are non-negotiable in everything that we do and in everything that we govern. Because Moldova's e-governance agency is more than just YEVO, is more than just the M-Suite. And the 4 non-negotiables are stated in law. The 4 non-negotiables are what we work and organize our thinking around, and it's how we review and assess everything that happens in the government, and we'll start reinforcing more and more and more. And these are on the screen. Digital is the default, so if it's not digital, if it's new and it's not digital, it shouldn't be there. 2, once-only data sharing. We're one of the most interoperable states around the region, and we need to make sure that we continue on this trend. We shouldn't ask anyone else about their data if you already have it. This is a principle that we need to abide by. We cannot have economic growth if we spend time sharing and scanning and sending documents and papers. Proactivity is the norm, and this builds on the interoperability layer and centralized access. And when we say centralized access, we talk about the one-stop shop, because having more than just one is already not one. So, and that leads me to the next slide. This winter, we made the first step towards actually centralizing access. Because we have built, we have digitalized, we have transformed for the past 15 years, but access and information was fragmented. This January, we organized the public service portal and the M-Cabinet, the citizens' data and information portal under one single layer, under the YEVO app. But it's more than just access to public services. It's going to become, it has information on e-signature. It has information about your data. It has key digitalization numbers and metrics and assets. And it's going to continue to grow more, but we're going to get to that in a second. However, what we're seeing that at any given moment, just because of centralizing the access, just because of giving citizens a clear blueprint, a clear name, a clear address of where to go to and check their information, we have people continuously returning, coming, and this is becoming the trust mark of accessing services in the Republic of Moldova. Next slide. And 3 years ago, 3 or 4, on this stage, 2024 it was. On this stage, we have announced YEVO, our platform of platforms, super app. I'm very happy to see all of the key stakeholders that have contributed over the years to it. And today, we're happy to announce the new YEVO. Native, better, faster. We're correcting where we missed out in the past, but we're also bringing something new. Next slide. The new YEVO, which is, by the way, Ramona is over there. It's already won a UX Design Awards for Best Product in 2026. Has more than just, it's more than just a rewrite. It's a blueprint for scaling up. And it brings something new. First of all, it brings pending actions. I'm not sure if you haven't updated your app. A show of hands, who has the app? Wonderful. Now go to the Play Store and update the app and check if you have pending actions. Now pending actions are something that is driven by the proactivity principle. We want you to know and see what we or anyone else in this state needs from you or what needs your attention when it needs your attention. So pending actions are immediate on your main screen. I, for example, have a debt to the fiscal service, which I will pay right after this, and get a 10% cashback if I use MasterCard. But by June 30, by the way. Pending actions are that. Second, we have consistently invested over the past year into mNotify, which is our governmental notification gateway and portal to allow for proactive notifications, updates, and information. We're also making it easier finally to receive, share, and manage your digital files and the digital files that are the result of service delivery in the Republic of Moldova. Because digital by default isn't just in the entry point or in the access point. Digital by default is actually in the delivery, it's in the form, it's in the way you get the result that you need. And then we're also making it easier for you to manage the way you receive your money from the state. Not sure how many of you have been through this, but I have. I have had money waiting, sitting and waiting for me at the postal office, and I didn't know about it until I got like this 5 exclamation point letter for the social insurance house telling me like, go get your money or else it's going to vanish and we're going to take it away from you. Now what we're doing is we've had payments and benefits for a long time. We will be testing a new implementation and then we will be upgraded and learning based on that. And the better experience overall, because we know that it was supposed to get better. Next slide, please. Now here's what stays. Everything else stays, we will just be piling on. So access to all of the over 600 e-services information is right at your fingertips. Whenever a new service appears, it is already in YEVO, and no, you not to access this and information about this, you do not need an electronic signature, although we highly encourage it. So because without one, well, over 50 data sets, digital powers of attorney, better, smarter appointments for services. We've re-engineered the entire e-appointment layer that we managed at the governance agency to make sure that institutions that still provide certain services through face-to-face interaction, get an appointment management system, and that it is natively integrated, it is provided by the government, and it immediately appears here once they configure it. Next slide. But the biggest, the cream of the cream, the cherry on the top, is the YEVO digital identity wallet. And I like to say that to us, this doesn't seem like a big transition to us as citizens generally. Because from 2024, it has been law that digital documents, the digital form of the documents in the app is legally binding and is legally accepted. However, it has been implemented on a reference architecture. Now, in the meantime, the European Commission has set forth the eIDAS 2.0 regulation. It has set forth implementing acts, and we, as a country, have committed through the reform agenda on the growth plan to actually implement by end of this year the EUD aligned digital wallet, and then in 2027 to certify it and get a certified wallet. And I'm happy to say, I'm very, very happy to say that 2026 is not just the year of the wallet. Moldova is one of the leading countries in the year of the wallet, because by end of 26, each country from the European Union must provide at least one digital identity wallet to its citizens that does key things. One, access to your documents. Not everyone has the free documents that we have. We need to be proud of that. Two, it needs to allow you to share consent and revoke access as you have it, and three, allow you to get access to a remote qualified electronic signature. And I'm very proud of the strategic partnership that eGov and the interinstitutional collaboration that we have between eGov, the STISC, and the Public Services Agency to making that happen. Next slide. But we're also solving for something more. Because in 2024, we launched, and everyone said, okay, but how do I verify it? How do I integrate it into my workflow? How I, as a regulated company, business, or enterprise, identify people? Because our past implementation has been allowing P2P sharing. Starting this April, we have launched the integration process of what are called relying parties. And there are two initial scenarios that we're going with. So the first scenario for businesses and implementation partners are to integrate directly into their systems by going through the eGov for Dev portal, getting a certificate, and going through the process. I'm very proud to say that these three logos are of the three key financial institutions that have completed successful integration, and we will be soon rolling out public launches on it, and you will start seeing at the counters the QRs to scan and present your digital identity document. Now, we are having a larger session on that on the eGov track where you can understand the mechanics behind it. We're very excited about it. We have over 7 member states participating as well. But this is in a nutshell what it does. Now, what happens with, next slide. What happens with those that do not have a system to integrate it to? And mostly it's also public institutions, for example. I don't know, how many of you have visited the governmental building in the past year? Oh, hi, Lena. So, you need to provide your identity, and typically you leave your document there. Now, we have made it mandatory to accept the document, but how does that person know at the entrance that this is not just a screenshot, that this is not just something that you photoshopped or Canva or AI'd already, right? That it is a real document. Now, verifica.gov.md, our national verifier portal solves for that. What it will allow, and if you're gonna go, don't go, but not on iOS, tomorrow. However, if you go on it, you will see verified documents in YEVO. The scenario is quite simple. So if in the integration scenario, you save the proof of verification in your system, with verifica.gov, you just validate. It's anonymous validation. You validate the verification, the availability of the document. So you can check and see and know that the document that is presented to you is actually that document, and it is valid, and it is of that person. It's quite simple. Verify, choose the document, a QR appears. You as a citizen scan that QR, you allow access to and you allow verification and validation of the information. We will do selective disclosure soon. It's actually available on Android, but not yet on my iOS. And you can share that information. And the information appears on the screen of the verifier. So they know in real time, without storing that information in the system, they know in real time that that data is valid. So next slide. And this is our roadmap. We said by end of 2026, we need to have 20 relying parties integrated. Now we started the legislative approximation process, transposing EIDAS 2.0, but this is where we are. So today we're launching the MVP. These are the standards where we have implemented on. I'm very proud to say that it's built on trust, robust trust infrastructure, and the scenarios that will move along the way. So we are starting with document verification and identification at the counter. In November, we will move into piloting remote onboarding. We're very happy that the EU Commission has set forth implementing act for remote onboarding, which allows us to actually implement it the way it should be. So you will remotely authenticate into the wallet, you'll get access to your identity, and then hopefully you will, e-signature will not be a barrier to entry and to access public digital services and your data. Why this is important? Because we have over 1 million of citizens living abroad. And because we want those over 1 million citizens living abroad to get access to data, to information, public services, whenever they want, wherever they want, on their own terms. So these will be these are scary terms, we understand them, but we will put out a glossary on them. 2027, with our great partners over there, we will be implementing RQS, Remote Qualified Electronic Signature. Remote Qualified Electronic Signature is basically the signature that we all know and love in Moldova, only accessible and an instrument through the wallet. So what that means is that once we do BID user binding through remote onboarding, the signature will not be a barrier to entry, and the signature will become an instrument that you use in the app. And by end of 27, we need to pass the conformity assessment from the EU. Next slide. This is our vision for YEVO. This is a balloon, but it's simple and it's true to form. YEVO is supposed to be the first thing that comes to your mind, regardless of who you are in this country. If you're a citizen, if you're a business, if you're a mother, if you're a diaspora member, if you are representative from a public institution. And we've already moved on to do that. But it's going to become so much more. We're aligning it with the requirements for the European Single Digital Gateway. Regulated professions will be available, and information on those, also an EU requirement, will be available on the portal and through the app. We are kicking off the definition of the first live events. We have a roadmap to implement and describe the first 5 live events through the app, and it is supposed to be a self-starting point for public institutions to start digitalizing, and we're moving on it. It's already happening. Next slide. Next slide. Thank you. But what you're seeing in Moldova and here on the stage is just the tip of the iceberg. Because underneath it is 16 years of transformations, 16 years of investment, 16 years of building up the 5-layer cake of Moldova's digital transformation. We have infrastructure, we have interoperability, we have our wonderful MSUIT mandated shared infrastructure platforms that allows us to do everything else. And on top of it, we launched last year not just YEVO, but also a statewide design system. Next slide. And going back to interoperability and the interoperability layer. These are the numbers that we're seeing today. These are the exchanges, the successful exchanges that have happened through mConnect just in this year. Over 3 million are happening daily. These are exchanges, data calls between public and private institutions, happening real time, regardless of when, where you're sleeping, you're not sleeping, it doesn't matter. And we're taking it to the next level. It's something that we publish, but I think it is important for us to state it once more and to present it to everyone. So next slide. Because standard interoperability to us will not cut it anymore. You will not have proactivity with standard interoperability. This is why we want, and we will make it mandatory, we're actually making it already, but for everyone to not just integrate, for people to start publishing mConnect events. Because mConnect events are the way in which we publish events there ready to propagate and to make interoperable services, interoperable information, interoperable and interactive interactions with the state. Because, as you see on this entire example and sample, this is the vision of the friendliest state. This is what needs to happen beyond the screen, beyond the scenes, under the hood, so that you can live your best life and that you can focus on what actually matters. So please, let's go to the next slide. Because to us, 100% digital is not about all 600 public services digitalized. To us, at the governance agency, success looks like slushing through those public services. To us, success looks like making our government and state so interoperable, so proactive, that you just confirm actions, you just validate information, and you get to do what matters most to you. And success will look like having a 100% live event, interoperable, proactive state, driven with only close to 50, 100 public services that actually require you to be there. Thank you, everyone. Next slide. And this is the way we're building the friendliest digital state. It was supposed to have a QR there. I hope we will find it. But just in case, come visit us. These are the building blocks of the friendliest digital state. You're welcome to interact. You're welcome to come share. And we invite everyone here to come and contribute. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicoleta. If we were to have a drinking game, whenever someone will say, next slide today, even if we do it every 10th time, we'd still be very drunk by the middle of the event. I hope we fix the clicker, and I hope we can make things seamless as possible. But next, I want to invite on stage Eugen. He knows we're late, so he's already jumping on the stage. Please welcome Eugeniu Galamaga, Regional Director, President, Allied Testing, and ATIC.
Hello, everyone. I just want to give credit to Nicoleta. I'm a big fan of Eva and advertise it to all my colleagues, and I'm really happy that she's at ego of dealing with the stuff. So, once again, it's a pleasure to see you all. I welcome you here today on behalf of ATIC, Association of Moldovan Information and Communication Technologies Companies, association whose members contribute 40% of the ICT sector turnover in Moldova. This summit is about future. It's about vision, it's about strategy, where we're going as the country and what changes we will be facing. And I hope everyone is finding something interesting through the sessions today. But I want to use this opportunity to give you a bit of insight and tell you a story of a community of people that joined together and believe for all these years and continue to believe that we can do more when working together. We're celebrating 20 years of ATIC this year. 20 years of community of people that wanted to make ICT sector matter, both within Moldova and outside, from people making decisions on their career path and to those shaping country's development priorities. And I think we did a great job. I'm standing here today surrounded by stakeholders from Moldova, by partners from abroad, by people that believe ICT is pivotal for us to move forward, by business leaders who grew their businesses, delivered projects, and by people who learned to become IT professionals and succeeded. 20 years ago, we took on a mission to invest into talent growth, and for 20 years, ATIC has been engaged in numerous educational projects and served tens of thousands of students, from Lego Robotics to TechWell Junior Academy that we will be celebrating tomorrow, from VAT educational programs to Makers Club, from IT trainings to initiatives focused on local startups. I'm proud that ATIC stood at the foundation of Startup Moldova organization. ATIC stood at the foundation of TechWell, and I have to say I've been skeptical back then, and I'm happy I was wrong. ATIC contributed to the next generation of specialists in Moldova, and I'm proud to be part of that story. And we go with the times. ATIC keeps setting space with latest trends in AI. We're doing workshops, experience sharing sessions, and again, stood at the foundation of AI and Big Data Conference, which turned from a Moldovan event initiative into an international one, with the latest edition being held in Bucharest. 20 years ago, I need the next slide. 20 years ago, we wanted to grow the whole market rather than fight for each other's share. And we grew several times over, with ICT now contributing 7% of GDP. Today, ICT sector of Moldova works with world business and tech leaders. We are partners to champions in very different disciplines, from London Stock Exchange in finance to Pearson PLC in education, from FIFA in sports to Caesars in entertainment, from H&M in retail to John Deere agricultural machinery, and we're not importing tractors from them because Moldova is an agricultural country. We are selling software to them because Moldova is ICT country. Fortune 500 companies in Europe and United States trust engineers and businesses in Moldova because we have skills and knowledge to solve complex problems and deliver sophisticated projects. So I think we did a lot in the last couple of decades, and we have the capacity and capabilities to take up on the most complex endeavors. And we should capitalize on those capabilities. For many years, historically, IT in Moldova was a lot about exporting IT services, which is great, by the way. But I want to be very clear that we are much more than just exporting services. We can be a partner to government and local businesses because we have years of experience and best practices from world's toughest projects. Now I want to talk a little bit about the support we had. All these years, we've been working with our partners and with friends in government that believed in our community and, what's better, became part of our community. I'm really, really happy about that. We are looking forward for progress in initiatives such as sandboxes and open data initiatives. We are looking for progress with AI adoption, and I'm not talking about regulations. I'm talking about ensuring that government platforms use AI with clear KPIs and timelines. We're looking forward for training programs with AI and IT tools for public sector. And we're working with digitalization and innovation team at Ministry of Economy and e-Consilium by Prime Minister, and I hope we always will be to make that happen. I also want to say some thanks to people like Doina Nister sitting here, that for me personally, this is how the story began, when 20 years ago she approached me with the idea to make ICT association. I want to say thank you to Anna Kirica, that's been with us for all those 20 years. I want to say thank you to Marina Bzovi, our former executive, now in MITP, that remains a good friend of ours. To Vitaly Tarlev, who's been many years on the Gov side helping us. To all ATIC team, to our partners, and of course, to our members that contribute their time, effort, resources, and share our values and dreams. And I want to finish my message with a call to all the investors here. If you are looking for a local partner that knows the nuances or looking to pivot a new technology, you got us. To all state authorities and government officials, as you are moving through AI transformation and need a consultant, or looking for a software solution, or you're working on a legislation that must be reviewed, you got us. For local businesses, if you're looking for products, you got us. And to all the IT guys here that are, for whatever reason, not part of ATIC, you got us. Join our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Eugen.
I encourage all ATIC members to meet up. We have a really, really great community. These are not just words. We really are. I'm extremely happy we're in our bubble of friends. So I encourage you to be part of that bubble.
Thank you so much. Next, we have another Eugen that will be coming on stage. He's a Chisinau-born behavioral economist at the University of Pennsylvania. And he's a visiting professor at Stanford. What he will be talking about is something really exciting because he'll be talking about human psychology and the behavioral foundations of